Yeah, that one right there. That one. That elephant in the room that many of my race will talk about in hushed tones in the back of a room somewhere, but my race is scared. Caucasians are scared. And why wouldn't they be? They've been beat up, harassed by a public education system called the American school system, from Head Start all the way up to good old university level. The media, ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, NPR, and the infamous Cloud News Network, otherwise known as CNN, can't negotiate news. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to give you a little lesson. ABC stands for all bull crap. NBC is nothing but crap. CBS is constant bullshit. PBS is the puberty broadcast system because it's usually funded by those groups that are all OCD over their sexuality and want us all to know it. You know, we live in a day and age, folks, where we're getting blasted for being white. And it's time for me at 57 years old to weigh in. I've had enough of being stymied into silence for fear that somebody's going to destroy me or burn the city down because somebody dares to say the truth. Y'all notice it's a one-sided narrative? Y'all notice that? And we live in an awesome social media world that is controlled by social media oligarchs that are living as filthy rich capitalist pigs, telling you that you cannot believe or think for yourself, promoting socialism while they themselves do not submit to the rules of socialism. None of them are moving to China. None of them are moving and submitting themselves to Putin. None of them are moving to Iran or North Korea. Please pay attention to these people. I don't care if it's the Obamas, the Pelosi's, or anybody else. They're all liars, and they live by a double standard. And if they're offended by that, sit on these. I should not, when I live in this day and age, I should not have to say, well, I'm not racist. I'm tired of saying that. What has happened in the U.S. is if I, a white guy, says the truth about Afrocentrism, which means African-centered, Afro specifically African-American centered. And let me say before I get going here, do not confuse African-American with Africa. I have friends in Zambia, Nigeria, and Kenya. And there is a night and day difference between women in Africa and men that I've talked to over there through social media versus what you have here in the United States. Number one, also, let me give the disclaimer. Not all African-American people are like this. Not all African-American people are what I'm referring to. But I'm going to say that at least 75% of them are, probably a lot higher. What I'm going to be talking about is the negative aspects of what African-Americans bring to American culture. And it's huge, folks. We've heard a lot of shit talked about my race. But I want to say something right now. You ever hear about Asians taking to the streets and burning shit down? Do you? Asians mind their business. They're disciplined. They're usually smarter than even my race. Their houses are tidy and trim. And you just don't hear about problems with them. But there's something, those of you that grew up watching the Brady Bunch, there's something called the Marsha effect. You know, Jan and Cindy Brady got so tired of that. Marsha. Well, guess what? The same thing's going on today. The Afrocentric culture is constantly saying, Marsha. You know, it's all about whites. Whites are favored. Whites are privileged. And when you say that, you know, don't snort your Pepsi through your nose when you look at Obama and the Obama's living on Martha's Vineyard. You know, she's so oppressed. Now, 50, 60, 70 years ago, black people wouldn't have been able or been scorned upon for buying property in Martha's Vineyard. That racism existed is absolutely true. But what's going on today? We're going to talk about it. Okay. Oprah Winfrey, she's so oppressed. She's always saying that whites are privileged. I don't know a white person personally that owns 5 or 6 mansions, one of them costing $90 million in Mendocino or whatever, California. I mean, talk about privilege, please. And she's voting in a party that supports abortion. She's voting in a party that supports all the LGBTQ and letters of the alphabet and gay marriage. She's voting in a party when black people want to talk about police brutality, and we're going to get to that. She's voting in a party that to date has killed 61 million people. Folks, I'm going to say it right here. The Democratic Party has done nothing to preserve and protect the lives of black people. The Democratic Party has done nothing to preserve and protect the lives of black people in the United States. You all see Lori Lightfoot. Don't let the door hit you on the butt, lady. And what does she do? The classic racism go round. See, what you have in the African American community of, angry black people is that everything has to do and be connected with racism. Everything, anything that happens to them has got to be something to do with racism. You have Lori Lightfoot, who was an incompetent mayor of Chicago. Let me highlight that for you. She's more worried about what Abbott, the governor of Texas, is doing with illegals. You shouldn't be using illegals as political pawns. Excuse me, Democrats. That's why you allow them over here, so they'll vote for you. Please shut the fuck up. Please shut the fuck up. The Democrats define the word hypocrisy. Okay. I grew up in a white home. I was adopted. I've been through my own abuse, my own bullshit. I have no contact with my family. None. It just doesn't pay to have contact with them. They're stuck in the same mentality and will always will be. But they voted for conservative, okay? Are there conservatives that are assholes? Yep. Are there conservatives that aren't very nice? Of course. Is my race of white males very nice? Nope. I think most white men are assholes, and they act like little geeks, and you go into any business and, hi, how you doing? I'm doing well. And it's all bullshit. And then you see them getting their SUVs with their hand draped over the wheel and driving like an asshole. And you honk at them with their suits and ties on, and they go like this and think they're badass. They never push a push mower in their life, but they're badass because they're behind a Toyota Sequoia. Let me tell you, I'm not particularly fond of my own race. Let me tell you, I'm not particularly fond of my own race. I lived in China for a year, trying to find myself. Now I live in the deep South, where I'm the minority. In the section of town I'm in the employment I'm in the region of the city I'm in. I've had 3+ years to make observations here, plus years of accumulative of Akron, Ohio, Denver, Colorado, Los Angeles, watching the drama and the vomit garbage of endless black people that didn't get their shit together, like Rodney King, George Floyd, Michael Brown, and al. How they can commit a criminal act, and that's totally ignored. And then they're caught, then the police does something wrong, and that suddenly becomes the focus. To erect a statue of George Floyd is just beyond fathoming. You see that right there? That's an African lady. You see that right there? African women doing dance. Pacific has always had an appreciation for culture. Pacific has dated black women. I know. Now, I'm going to get into something. I've talked about cults. A cult to me is defined as one that denies the biblical definition of who God is. And instead of calling out those cults, because we all know who they are, they deny that Jesus Christ is God. They deny that They deny cardinal doctrines of the Bible. In fact, they've written their own versions and say that the Bible's full of discrepancies and this and that. And, from Watchtower publications to the LDS writings, which are all completely nonsense. Even South Park exposed that. The Bible's a factual book. And what you have in Afrocentric culture in America, and I see it right where I live. There's a radio station in South Carolina, 94.7. I call it racist radio. They only hire blacks, and they make it a point on their website to say how many of their listeners went to college. The praise music is no good. And I'm not saying this because I'm going to talk about white Christian praise music. I think it sucks. We went from grand old hymns to this cheesy, repetitive, trite, crappy stuff today without even a real band. Somebody saying the same words over and over again. The 7-Eleven praise, saying the same 7 words 11 times. We're no longer deep. We're no longer original. When I can listen to classic secular music from 60s, 70s, 80s, and a few things into the 90s and get more out of that than I can this trite little churchy music today, which the churches have embraced, there's something wrong. Christians should be the leaders in coming up with new and powerful and relevant and good music. There's no bands anymore. It's preset sounds. Everything coming out of Nashville today is a joke. And then they get inflated in their head. Look at me. I'm doing ministry for God. And when I'm sitting in my $1 million house, and I'm like, please, just stop. Go get a real job. That ain't ministry, folks. But I'm not normal by today's definition. I'm going to say that from the outset. But when I talk about a cult, it's a way of thinking. And I'm going to contradict myself. Mormons will tell you, my brother-in-law is devout Mormon. They've made it to temple and all that stuff. And he said, if you want to know what a Mormon believes, just ask the Mormons. Sounds pretty airtight, right? Problem is, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, and a lot of your cults are progressive religions. They give you little bits of info, and then as you get deeper in, they reveal more to you. Mormon church is extremely dark. It was started by a man who was nothing short of a troubled man that did not make it beyond a 4th grade education in Palmyra, New York, went on down to Nauvoo, Illinois, grabbed a bunch of masonry, became a 33-degree Mason. You can see the symbols on the top of the Salt Lake Temple. And Mormonism's repackaged itself, I don't know how many times, with slick little Hallmark commercials. You start to watch and go, wow, this is nice. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You're like, oh gosh. Talk about deceptive. They call themselves Christians. They pray in Jesus' name. They even call themselves Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They're not the Church of Jesus Christ. They're not Latter-day Saints. They're not saints. They believe hogwash. And for me to say that, oh, you're bashing. I'm not bashing anybody. I'm just stating a fact. Just like the Israelites, when God, kings came in and they removed the Asherah poles and destroyed the temple of Baal and did that. We can't do that today. We have freedom of religion, which I welcome. But in my mind, I absolutely can test the spirits to see whether they be from God or not. We as white people have just as much right to comment and opine and pontificate on the African-American community as they think that they have that right to do so about us. I've had black women get up in my face on social media, say, oh, you're a white man, you're going to tell us about our race. I said, oh, you're a black woman, you're going to tell me about my race. How does that work? Flip the script and do it every time, and you will come out ahead. Now, you will not come out ahead with people that think the group that I'm targeting right now, you're not going to win. Let me make it clear. I've watched countless hours of commentary, and I've watched just in my own self. I know I have my dysfunctions and my problems. I'm not perfect. But when I look at the world of the Democrat left out there, they truly have mental disorders. You look at Maxine Waters. You look at Whoopi Goldberg. Maxine Waters, let's just take her as a black woman. Angry face. She called for black people to get up in our faces at the gas stations, the restaurants. Congress didn't demand that she be ousted for that. But then they want to point to Trump and say he instigated January 6th. Now, I no longer support Donald Trump. I voted for him on the issues. I lived in the Southwest. I'm tired of the illegals coming into this country. I personally saw shit that they do. They'll hit a vehicle, jump out of theirs, and flee in all directions. And when they're caught, they get a ticket to come to court, but since they have no license, you think the police will arrest them? Not in Denver. No, it's a sanctuary city. I've watched our country be torn apart. And you've had for some time now angry black people saying that everything's against them. I don't know. The last time I checked, I look at Snoop Dogg and LeBron, and I look at scores of black people making way more money than they should for what? Playing basketball? For making rap music, which is further degraded and brought our culture closer and closer into the sewer. This is not my opinion. This is a fact. When you got music that's got the N-word in it, it's okay for black people to call each other that, but let a white person drop the N-word, fight is on. I used to drive school bus. Even where I live, I no longer do that. I've switched what I do. Out of all the years I drove, all Hispanic routes with lots of Vietnamese, routes with a lot of white, middle-class, comfortable snow globe kids, what blacks would call privileged. The biggest problems I've ever had with any group, anytime, whether it's one or whether it's a busload of them, is, you guessed it, African Americans. Disrespecting. I moved down south here, and comments were made when I had to sub somebody else's route out of middle school, and they went back to their black driver and said, "We don't want that white boy driving our bus." I was one of the first white people where I live to drive in an area of the city stated by my, at the time, boss. And wow, fights. Kids climbing out the windows of the bus. Kids jumping over seats to get off the bus and not walking down the aisle. Kids in third grade, blacks, using words like bitch, ho, fuck you, all that. Third grade boys getting up and pounding profusely on a girl's head, and I have to get up and try to pull them apart. And then I'm told, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't? I'm not going to stand there and watch him bloody her face. No, you got to call it in. Yeah, if I can. Black on black violence is one of the highest statistical facts that stares the black community dead in the face. And you got a loser, Lori Lightfoot, who's just been shown the door, that wants to get up and grandstand that she didn't get reelected because of racism. And that's all the left is doing. Everything has some connection to Donald Trump. I mean, that is irrational as hell. Never did I hear Donald Trump use the N-word. Never did I hear Donald Trump say a damn word against the African-American community. And yet he's branded racist by liberal, brainwashed, cult-thinking black people. That the African-American community was able to get swindled, hoodwinked, and deceived into group hugging the very party that kept them into slavery, on the cotton picking chain gangs and everything else, that formed the KKK, that supported and created the Jim Crow laws. And they're running around saying that Republicans and conservatives and whites are all racist, failing to realize because you have a huge lack of intellectual prowess within the African American community as a whole. I'm not saying they're not smart Black people. There's Black men and women I've met that I have absolute respect for. But if you want to sit down and do test comparatives and knowledge comparatives, they fail. When you look at the fact that they've been hoodwinked by the Democrat left, and the Democrat left, which is pretty much controlled by mostly Caucasians, living in gated communities, living in excessive, unethical privilege, and they're telling the Blacks that we are the problem. Is laughable, hysterical, and a sign of mental illness within the Democrat left. If the Black people would wake up that the Democrat left is using them as pawns for their vote, pimping them for votes. Because when and if the Democratic Party gets the strong arm, shreds our Constitution, shreds the Supreme Court, and gets totalitarian power, you think Kim Jong-un is bad? Watch what they do to the Black community. They will go right back to what is deeply entrenched within them, their absolute hatred and contempt for Black people. The Democrats are using lawlessness, disorder, riots, sexual perversion to promote their party. But notice they don't allow riots where Pelosi, where Oprah, Maxine, Biden, they don't allow that to come to their properties. They don't allow that to set foot anywhere near them, but they encourage it everywhere else. We saw what this inept president has done with East Palestine, Ohio, if I'm saying that correctly. Train derailment, chemicals burned, and of course, Facebook and everybody wants to censor this now. But that there was pollution and that horses or chickens and fish are dying and is a reality. And Buttigieg is worthless. He has nothing to do with transportation. But we have a party that's bragging that he's a gay white male. They've got more favor than I do. When the spokesperson for Biden, the first one was Raggedy Ann, that crazy redhead, and she was hired by MSNBC, of course. Why would you be surprised? And this new one, I'm Black and I'm lesbian. Oh, good. That puts me at ease that our country's in good hands. Thank you that you're a lesbian and you're Black. That's her selling point. Morgan Freeman, a Black actor, said 75% of the African American community's problems are of their own making. I'm out there raking my yard, and you ought to see the fools that go up and down a short street that I live on. You know, the ones that are now taking their Yukons and dropping the back end all the way to the ground like their pants. The front end lifted up so high they can't see what's in front of them. And they got that mother effing na, mother effing blah, 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 music blasting. And I just stop and I just look and go, mouth the words, you are a loser, but you think you're cool. And what's interesting is a lot of what these people bring to the table is decadent. And you got whites, Hispanics, and Asians that try to emulate this lowest common denominator musical culture. I don't think it's music. I think it's offensive. And our Homeland Security is running around fleecing old women at airports and 3-year-olds when we allow a record industry and a producing industry to create rap music that's dangerous to a civilized society. Stuff with profanity in it. I go to a nightclub and I leave when they start playing the shitty music. When a Black man singing suck my dick, and white flaky women get up and come alive to this, that's where our culture's headed, folks. Look at Lightfoot and her racism in Chicago. Refused to talk to white people. Uses profanity. She's not pretty. Let's take Michelle Obama. Here's a classic example of ignorance. I don't understand why white people don't move into black neighborhoods. Really, Michelle? Maybe you ought to ask yourself why you moved into a white neighborhood. Maybe you ought to ask yourself why you didn't move to Compton, Atlanta, Detroit, or any area where there's a lot of blacks. How come you moved as far away from that as you could and you moved to the most privileged community of self-righteous Democrats that own property on Martha's Vineyard? How in the hell does that square with me being privileged and you're not? You bought a 40-bedroom house and you and your husband wouldn't take one of any of those 50 illegals that DeSantis, which I thought was an awesome middle finger in the face of the Democrat self-righteous double standard. They wasted no time in getting them out of there. And listen to what these bloody snow globe elitists in Martha's Vineyard had to say. We don't have the resources to do. Y'all got houses with unused rooms. Come on. You could have put 30 of them in Brock and Michelle's house. Oh, no. They don't want it in their front yard. I don't know why people aren't getting this. They don't give a shit what goes on in Texas, Arizona, New Mexico. They don't care as long as it stays away from them. Folks, socialism in a nutshell, if it's followed by the letter of the law, none of those people should be millionaires and billionaires, including Oprah, who ran a TV show making lots of money off of what? Her mouth? Please notice something. No one's going to make a billionaire out of anybody who stands on the truth of God and his word. Jesus said something very profound. Broad is the road that leads to destruction. Many there be that travel on it. Narrow is the way to eternal life. When you look at Oprah and her devoted fan club, it shouldn't take a rocket scientist Christian to look at that and say she's obviously on the broad road. Because you take anybody that's false, that's not right with him, they got all kinds of fans. Look at Facebook, look at social media. You got snotty girls stuck up, and they'll do a TikTok video with no bra, and they got thousands and thousands of followers, mostly salivating, horny men, and that goes right to their tiny little head, and they think they're a freaking star. But you're the only one that's got titties? You're the only one that's got titties, huh? And what is sad is social media is this tsunami that's gone out around the globe. It's starting to happen in the Philippines, where young ladies are now getting on social media and wearing crop tops and half shirts and jiggling around and getting 5,000, and you send them a message, you only get a response. It used to be they were looking for a husband. Now they're enjoying the ego trip. People are sending them money. Now you can get young ladies today with a Cash App, and they'll send pictures of themselves. Isn't that nice? I mean, and parents don't even know what their kids are doing anymore. I was laughing that for me, a man, to notice a pretty woman, an adult woman, and I've observed when I lived in another state years ago, I go to a recreation center and steam room, sauna, and a hot tub and a big Olympic pool with a slide, and they had a lazy river that went through there. It was a great place. I go in there and spend all day and getting steamed up and cooled down. And I had many friends that I talked to in there and hung out with. And you get some string bean skinny woman in a micro bikini lays and sprawls out like a cat on the upper bench of the sauna. And, you get old men in there and there's nothing for the imagination, and they're not saying anything, but they're looking. And the woman will finally get up and discuss, oh my gosh, perverts. So man is defined as a pervert by a woman who's dressed in virtually nothing but a dental floss bikini. And we're made biologically to notice that. But let a gay man walk into the room where I work or any other place, and all the ladies, hi. Men are condemned for having a natural attraction towards women, while men having an attraction towards their own men is applauded, paraded in the streets. They have a whole month dedicated to it called June. Now we've got to have rights for everybody that's fascinated as to whether this down here is a penis or a vagina. The military talks about it. Do you think Russia and China military is teaching their young men to come into touch with their sexuality? This country had better wake up, because there's some serious players out there that are wolves waiting to sink their teeth into soft us. When I lived in Hong Kong many years ago, there was a black man standing outside of a business. Not sure where he was from, but Hong Kong is not black, it is Asian. And Hong Kong attracts people from all around the world. It's very international. And Chinese are notorious for taking photo, and they'd walk, and there was this new business opening up, and they stood on the public sidewalk and were taking pictures. This black man grabbed their cameras and shoved them around. That made Hong Kong news, and the Chinese, without a hesitation, said, who does this guy think he is, coming in here and going to shove our people around on a public sidewalk taking pictures of a business? The outrage was swift. Guess what, black people? You may think you're Pharaoh, but you can't do that shit in other places. They can do it here. They can get away with it. Look at the media and how childish they are, vilifying and demonizing the police. The media. Now let that sink in. You think anybody could get anywhere near those television stations with intent to harm and get up in there? You think that's going to happen? How about if you go to their homes after they're off? Do you think you're going to be able to get up in there and get at them very easily? They got security systems. And I'm sure that the police there really patrol their neighborhoods. I always thought it ironic that everywhere I've lived, they always got liquor stores in the down and out black community. And I'm like, who's owned this shit? Sorry, black people, but they shouldn't be putting liquor stores in your neighborhood when you're already financially down and just creating this psychological go round up. I'm just going to get another drink. Why don't they put those damn liquor stores right in the middle of Richville? Why don't they in fact, I'd like to see Martha's Vineyard taken over by Walmarts, Dollar Trees, and liquor stores. That'd be awesome. Is it getting in, Democrats? How hypocritical and fucked up your thinking is. You don't want to be around that. Yet your policies, your party encourages ghetto all the way. You do nothing to help the black person. Nothing. Now you feign that you care about their suffering and you want to yell and scream at the police. Why don't you open up the truth about how you Democrats have police protected privilege 24/7? But you shout and yell and champion Black Lives Matters while blacks are killing each other in a killing machine. Under Lori Lightfoot in Chicago, the highest record of black deaths in the city of Chicago ever. And black people, you can say whatever you want about me, but if you cannot ascertain the truth in your own mind, then you're part of a cult. I was doing a live video on Facebook a couple of years ago, and a coworker who is black, very outspoken, says, you can't talk about these things. You're not black. I called her out by name on the live video. I said, you want to bet? I said, you talk about my race all the time. I'm going to talk about your race, but the difference between me and you, I'm going to be objective. You are not. A lot of black people did not go to college after high school. A lot of them did not go to university, but they all submit to CNN every day. They actually believe they're getting the truth by listening to the alphabet networks. Let that sink in. How many of them actually take the time to do real research? They spend more time determining whether Betty Boop was black or white or who created peanut butter. And we have Black History Month, and now you have blacks running around where I live. I am Black History. Black History is not in a month. I go to workplaces daily. It's a black thing. You wouldn't understand. Black Queen. I want to do a social experiment. Just get a shirt, white, Irish, and proud, and see if that gets me in the principal's office at my job. Because the blacks can do it. I don't see any other race doing that. Let me say that one more time. I don't see any other race doing it. I don't see Asians. I don't see Mexicans. I don't see anybody else doing that. That blacks can wear offensive wall erecting t-shirts. So let's analyze their race. African Americans. Let's analyze what they've brought to the table in the United States. Let's sit down. They talk a lot of stuff about my race. Let's do a little history lesson here. Pacific style. Did they invent this? Nope. They invent the landline? Nope. Are they responsible for the architecture that adorns the continental United States? Nope. Did they design the power grid, the sewer system, and the cable, and they designed the skyscrapers? Did they create the mass production of the Ford automobile? Dodge was started by two Dodge brothers, Jewish. GM. What did black people bring to the table in America that Americans use every day? Did they make the paperclip, the stapler, the Rolex, the Rolodex, the calculator, the adding machine, the fax, the television, the refrigerator, the washing machine, the dryer, the microwave? Did they make any of that stuff? And my point. But they use all that shit every day and want to tell me that my race is fucked up. And you listen to Black Lives Matters leaders saying that they want their own place where we're not allowed. Okay, please, let's find somewhere to give them that. And they're not allowed to take any of what white men invented with them. You're going to go over there and you're going to do it yourself. Because if you want to talk about privilege, you are privileged just by enjoying the inventions of my race. And for all the shit talk that goes on in this country that we stole the land from the natives, I have yet to see a black person or Democrat sign the title of their house, their pickup, their Escalade, their Cadillac over to a Native American. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting. You don't have to have a political science degree to shred the Democrat left. All you have to do is use common sense, and you can shred them just by thinking with your mind. While they're yelling that Trump and this and that and going on, and that's what CNN networks have done, is they keep them in this circular soup. Stir it some more, add in some more hate, lies, and stir it up. And then you have a cauldron of seething, angry people hitting the streets, stealing TVs, and burning shit down. Jalen Walker in good old Akron, Ohio, another quality African-American dude. One night is running from the police, goes into another county, but this time he got sloppy, and the very next night does it in Akron, and they fired at his car. And all mother would say, they fired 50 rounds in him. Good. Too bad they didn't drop an atomic bomb on the son of a bitch. Why is it that in the black mind, only black lives are so important, but those same black people do absolutely nothing? George Floyd, Jalen Walker, Michael Brown, Rodney King, and a whole host of other clowns out there that were doing something that was against the law. They never talk about that. They don't want to talk about that. Because if you want to do a stack up of ethnic stuff, the culture that brings most problems, more problems to America, that cost all of us in a criminal justice system with the lost lives of people, You know which ethnicity it is. It's not Asians, it's not Hispanics, and it's not Caucasians. It is just not. But let's talk about something that black people ignore. They ignore the left. They ignore the media, which is dominated, controlled, and owned by rich white elites, not blacks. Not blacks. In fact, a lot of them are Jewish. And I'm not anti-Semitic, but you got George Soros, you got Zuckerberg, you had the late Barbara Walters, all Jewish, all filthy rich. And I love to use this argument because black people like to put everything in a nice, neat little blocks, okay? You tell me, which one is white? Tell me. I'm reddish, ruddy in complexion, which is my Irish roots. We tend to have a ruddy complexion. This is white, folks. This is reddish pink. And a lot of black people I see are brown. You take a brown crayon out of the box, and it will match most of the black people I come into contact with every day. How come they're called black? That's black. I've yet to meet a black person right here where I work that's that dark shade. They want to use the term African American. I started saying I'm Irish American. They look at me funny. How come you guys can do that? If I wear a chain around my neck, it's not uncommon for black. Why do you got that chain around your neck? I said, why are you wearing that shirt? They just look at me. What do you mean? Why are you wearing that shirt? Because I like it. Boom. Thank you. Carry on. Having lived some years, I've watched something. Work ethic. Pride in the job. Neighborhoods. Where I live, you have tarps over roofs, shit all over the yard, barking, yapping dogs, moldy travel trailers that people are living in because they burned their house and didn't have insurance. And when I had to take a family to court because nobody was living there first, and a son who had got out of prison was driving up and down the street, and boom, 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 in a shitty car with no muffler on it that sounded like a Suzuki on steroids. And then his buddies would pull up in Crown Vics with all the doors in the trunk and hood open, and it's open house. And in the back of mine, I hear, fucking nigger. That's what I hear them saying on their radio, on their car music. And when I had to go to court of 3 years of barking dogs, all leaping a 21-inch fence or a 32-inch fence, dragging pants and trash and shitting in my yard, the woman said, I've lived in my house 38 years. This guy's been here 3. How does he talk about black ignorance? So you owned your house 38 years. That means you got the right to shit on the entire neighborhood. And I never said a word to them. I never glared at them, never made signs. The black boyfriend came in. The daughter, who I was told was the one that caused the fire, set something on the stove, went to sleepy, and it got a good enough of a toehold to ruin the house. And mama didn't have insurance. Now there's a moldy trailer with a tarp over it, nailed into the skin of the trailer. It's an eyesore. And I see this all day where black people like that look down their nose at me, treat me with disrespect, treat me rudely in a store. I walk in and they'll, hey, sister, and I get there and they glower. There's a woman I know that's in leadership, wears an Obama Hope shirt. She looks like she's ready to punch somebody in the face every single day of the year. You don't say good morning to her unless you're one of her friends that's in the alternative lifestyle. She claims to be a Christian. She's rude. She scowls and growls all day. She will never look in the eye when you approach her desk and say, good morning, Pacific, how are you? But those are the people that we're encouraging that they've got to get out and vote. A black woman pulled into my yard one day when I was doing yard work. I went up and I said, "Hi, how you doing? Can I help you?" "Yeah, I'm looking for so and so." I said, "She doesn't live here anymore." I said, "I'm still getting the mail. I've turned it in for several years." "Oh, well, I'm just trying to get out the black vote." I wanted to say, "Really? The black vote? How about mine?" "Oh, no, no." I walked down to the polling place to do early voting in my city. All the poll operators were black. As I opened the door, I had my work pants on because I'm remodeling my home. I was doing yard work, and I went down there and didn't smell or anything, but ripped jeans. And Saturday, I'm voting. I don't need to dress up for that. Woman goes, excuse me, can I help you?" "Yeah, I'm here to do early." Wait. I mean, she started having some anxiety disorder seeing a white male walking in. There's a myth that goes around in the African American community that they're not guilty of racism. Come where I live and I'll show you. You got to hear what they say about Asians all the time. You got to hear what they say about whites. I work in an environment where I hear all the time, "Oh, that's a white thing. Oh, whites are into that. We don't do that." Everything is black or white with them. That's it. Well, let me say something. I lived in Hong Kong and I benefited greatly from Asian culture. I don't get any benefits in African American culture. Crime goes up, real estate values go down. You get a neighborhood with blacks that don't have any respect, and they shake the neighborhood with, they will never buy a house. They go and buy a Crown Vic, spend more for the stereo and the stupid, ugly ass 3-foot spinner rims on it, terrorize the neighborhood, what I call urban terrorism, with profane, foul crap. And our culture of law enforcement, nobody will do anything about it because they're scared of them. No visionary leader will get the balls they need to say, "You know what? These neighborhoods are drug infested. These neighborhoods are looking like eyesores. We're going to do something about it." We have a party that's encouraging ghetto, lawless filth. But the black people ignore one of the most racist white women ever, and her name was Margaret Sanger. She started what is known today as Planned Parenthood. You can read on the internet. Google hasn't been good enough at bearing all the truth about her. And that leads me to the next thing. The search engines are deliberately putting stuff at the bottom of the pile so you can't find it. But Margaret Sanger hated blacks. She considered them a scourge and supported abortion as a way to get rid of them and put the race on extinction mode. Well, that hasn't happened. Blacks have more babies than whites do, and especially 75% of black women in the black community are unwed mothers, and they like their sex. And you have black women with piss poor adult skills raising these children. And I've noticed something over the years. I've talked about I've talked about women in American culture because of feminism and snow globe culture having everything, that women today are horrible to us, man. That you are putting danger to yourself if you even marry or get involved with most American women. Now, not all American women like this. Good ones are taken. But when you get up into my age, the women that are out there on the auction block for dating, especially where I'm at, 3, 4 out of control kids in tow. The car's smelly and filthy, dog hair and shit all over it. The house is filthy, rats, roaches, and mice running around. I've seen it. And they'll put on $300 in a hairstyle with weaves and nails and prop up their boobies. And the black guys just salivate all over that. I can't live that way. I can't do that cultural thing. If I can't afford to get a roofer, then I'm going to attempt to tear off a part of my roof that leaks and do it myself and do it right. They throw a tarp over it and put bricks on it. Junked cars that they're going to work on that never get worked on with rims rims holding up Chevy Impalas and crap all over the yard. The lawn's all full of ruts and pits because they park in their yard, park on the lawn, park everywhere. Busted kids' toys, busted bicycles. I would encourage anybody that keeps listening to the bullshit of the left go through any community where blacks are in dominance in the continental United States, Compton, Detroit, various places in Georgia, and all through the South, and Birmingham, Alabama, and Jackson, Mississippi. Go through and tell me what you observe. You feel safe? Well, guess what? The black people aren't safe in their own communities either. Black on black violence, percentile wise, even though whites are in the dominant race in the US, percentage wise, black on black violence is off the chain. Now, how can that be ascribed to us? It can't. What I've learned about black culture is they want to live in this. They got to have that thing going. It's a carousel that just goes around and around. I call it race go round. I did a video one day where I had a supervisor a couple of years ago that was over me when I worked as a driver. She got offended that I talked about Oprah, Maxine Waters, and Michelle, because if you listen to them, they praised Michelle. She was the classiest and best first lady. No, she wasn't. No, she was not. And that's not my opinion. But what I've noticed is blacks will always get behind a black person. Always. And 94.7, WWW or something, calling it empowerment, praise, inspiration. You've got the Jamal Bailey get on there. And when they're talking about election issues, they're very much encouraging vote by color, paint by numbers, vote by color. Now, if that isn't racism, and blacks will defend, justify, and excuse that. Let a white guy get up there and say, you're only going to vote for white conservatives or white liberals. And watch the howling that goes on. This is not Christian radio, folks. It's propaganda 101. I wrote the radio station. Of course, they don't respond. Why would they? I worked with a woman who listens to this station. I heard their music on a daily basis. One day I said, can you turn this off? It's offensive to me. They were talking about politics, but the music sucks. It's all black, so-called praise music. None of it deep. None of it of any outstanding value. Well, that's your opinion. No, that's not my opinion. There's great masterpiece music out there. That isn't it. Most of today's contemporary Christian music is fit for the trash can, white or black. But to listen to them interject and say, we got to support the Democrats. Wait a minute. Biblical and Democrat go together? That's like doing a sandwich and we're not going to put peanut butter in there with the jelly. We'll just put some mud in there. How about some drywall mud and jelly? You wouldn't do it. But the black community claiming to be Christian has no problem grabbing the Democratic Party and using their churches as bully pulpits for their leftist cause. Why would a black community support a party that allowed a woman to become powerful and start what is known as Planned Parenthood for the sole purpose of getting blacks to come to an end? Why would black Christians support a party that has killed more people than Adolf Hitler, Stalin, and Lenin, and Mussolini combined? 61 million babies. And even Christian women, blacks, claiming to be Christian, have gotten in my face. No, I believe in a woman's choice. And I said, but you're wrong. There's a baby in the womb that doesn't get a choice. No. There's a baby in the womb that doesn't. And all they do is yell and scream. You're all about your selfish choice. But that kid in there wouldn't choose that. 61 million. That's infanticide, folks. And the Democrats use terms like choice, reproductive rights, and fetus. How impersonal. 99% of the women that have abortions were fucking around, opened their legs, and now they got a baby and they don't want to deal with it. They use the argument and scream, "What about rape?" Let's just say this represents all the abortions. There's the percentage of rape. The Democrats are not as smart as they'd like us to believe. All their college, all their education. Nancy Pelosi, a self-absorbed, self-serving mess. Do you remember in 2020 when we had COVID-19? Do you remember that? Soy Boy in the news agency somewhere decided to do a special story on her and her ice cream in San Francisco. Have you seen her house? It's a teepee out in the Midwest of America, right? She's using buffalo hides and making arrowhead spears out of obsidian, right? She's living off the land. She's going green, right? All these Democrats are living filthy rich in homes that are using all kinds of things that they're against. That foolish, I think of hawking up a loogie, Hochul, the governor of New York, another mentally ill woman, cooking on a gas stove, doing a show on cooking while decrying gas stoves. Nancy Pelosi screaming that anybody who walks through her house, she called it her house, charge $1,500 without a mask, but she can strut through a hair salon in California. And Newsom, who's somehow related to her, can go to a fungal dinner and pay $300 for a truffle dinner with his wife and a medical entourage, and none of them have masks on, when he's saying that everybody will comply with the mask mandate. And Newsom had people arrested, a man arrested, being in the water on a kayak in the Pacific Ocean. I didn't know that Newsom had jurisdiction over the fucking Pacific. The Democratic Party is ill mentally. There's no doubt in my mind. And you take African American culture, which doesn't test out real well on the academic level. Oh, they encourage them all to go to college, and many more are going to college. But what are they getting in college today? Anti-white dogma, pro-socialist, pro-Marx. Did you hear the leaders of BLM? Did you hear Candace Owens catching one of the leaders that raised $90 million and went right away to Southern California and bought mansions with that money? They're demanding an investigation into that. Of course, the Democrats are in control, so nothing will happen, just like with Hunter and Biden. But look at the left. Look at the black community. Oh, Trump and January 6th. Oh, blacks and the whole year of 2020. Billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars of damage from Seattle all the way to New York City and all the way down to the South. How come the blacks are quiet about that? How come not one Democrat black person stood up and told the black community and everybody else, we're not burning things down, folks? Did you hear the mother of the black man? Did you hear the story? Memphis, the black guy, hadn't even done anything. Carload of black officers pulled him over, tased him, beat him, and all kinds of things, which resulted in his death. Come to find out, that black guy was dating a black woman that was dating another officer. She left him, went after him, and they decided to get revenge. Did you notice that the black community didn't go from stem to stern like they did in George Floyd? Did you hear the mother of that victim stand up and say, please don't burn things down? I applaud that mother of that man. And that man's death was just as wrong as anybody else's. And what's really sickening here is that man who died in Memphis, black man, didn't do anything wrong, and he was killed at the hands of his own color. Black community's fucking silent about that. Let a white man do that, and everything would have burned down in Memphis. I promise you. George Floyd, an asshole of a human being, held a gun to a pregnant woman's belly. I'm assuming she was black. Do you ever see outrage from the black men or the black women about the violence that their own race does to their own women? Did you see it? No. Let a white man stick a gun in the belly of a pregnant black woman and watch the black community erupt into complete anger. How come black women are ignored in the media? How come black women are the only black women that make it out there, the ones that we don't want to listen to? Whoopi Goldberg, she's twice now said that the Jews didn't experience racism under Nazi Germany. You went to college and that's what you came up with? He singled out 6 million Jews. I would say that there's some racism there. She got suspended once, then she says it again, and nothing happened. Whoopi Goldberg is not a political scientist. She was good in Sister Act. She should have stuck to her day job. But now she angers many of us because it's like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're fat. You're not pretty. You got the same ugly hairstyle that you've had for years. You spend too much money on the hairstyle, too much money on hefty bag-sized clothing, and you're going to judge my race, and you're going to judge conservatives? Yeah, I'm going to criticize your looks. I'm going to criticize your body. You open yourself up for it. When black people keep shitting on whites and saying we don't understand, what they don't understand is that we do understand and we don't go along with them. And when you don't, you're hated. You're a racist. When you can't win an argument by facts, you call somebody a racist. That's what the Democrats do. You call them names, you cuss them out, and you encourage everybody to burn their property down. And that's the way they win an argument. Sounds a lot like real socialism, doesn't it? Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping. You know, you don't submit to me, I'm going to get you. Something that blacks don't realize is we're not a democracy, we're a republic. That was the way it was set up. Remember the Pledge of Allegiance and to the republic for which it stands? And then you got black Christians supporting the left. They didn't say a word about the riots. I asked several black people that I know claiming, what do you think? Well, you know, they got a lot of anger. I said, a lot of anger for what? Some fuckhead that went in and was cashing counterfeit money to get a thing at a convenience store, and the guy told him, you put it back. And typical black fashion, fuck you, I'm not going to do what you asked me to do. What you see with black people all the time is they refuse to submit, especially if it's a white cop or white person giving, have a white guy in a neighborhood go up to a bunch of guys playing their shitty rap music and say, hey, can you guys please turn that down and watch what happens? You approach them nicely and they're going to go, get the fuck out of here, honky. Everybody knows that nobody wants to go up and have a talk with them because it doesn't work. So when the police say, put your hands in the air where I can see them, and they start fumbling around down between the seat console, oh, well, you got shot. Looked like you were reaching for a gun. You weren't told to reach around for whatever's down there. I see this in workplaces I've worked in the South. They don't follow the rules at work. They don't show pride in their workspace. What I see is a lot of privilege being given to blacks to act up, to misbehave, and nothing can be done about it. That's what I see. George Floyd was a scumbag, and the media played it. Oh, his daughters were without their father. Daughters were out their father the day when they're born. Guys out there fucking around doing what he wanted to do. And then his folks got $27 million. How in the hell is that fair? I'm not defending Chauvin, and I don't even need to say that. But it's interesting how the blacks will focus on this one little gnat over here, but ignore the camel right in front of them. Where's the black community in trying to redirect George Floyd to be a ethical and upright citizen? Oh, they don't want to do that because you know what? In Black culture, thug behavior is in. We got thug life video games. We got and why does the Black community just allow themselves to be branded and owned by Nike and LeBron when he puts his big sweaty arm with all that hair and his tattoos, and women go, oh, gross. That's shoved in our face. Now it's all Black History Month. Thank God March is here. And look, I don't support Black History Month. I think it's an insult to the blacks because I get what they're saying, but then they got to be childish about it. It's not a month. One guy I saw the other day, Black History, 24/7, 365. Oh, isn't that cute? My little smart ass comeback. I don't even listen to Black History anymore. There's really nothing to listen to. And the reason I say that is it's the same old recycled stuff over and over. Somebody invented peanut butter. And then I found out the other day, a gentleman I work with did a poster board, a Black gentleman, and he did William Washington Carver. He said, contrary to popular belief, he did not invent peanut butter. But Washington Carver was a great man in his own stead. I don't like it when any culture singles their group out, huddles in their little corner. All that does is make me go, okay, so what's the big deal over here? Let me look in and see what's just so awesome about your culture. Nothing that really, and that's where I say the Marsha effect kicks in. There's a lot of people, even in my world, I'm white. You think a lot of white women want to listen to me and my rants? They don't. I've gone into rooms where just the minute I walk in, I can tell I'm not wanted. My hair, the glasses, the chain around my neck. I walk into a room of uptight white women that think they're all out in a bag of chips. So instead of leaving that room, what if I was to stand up and say, I want acceptance? You got hatred towards me. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get the hell out of that room. I had a Black woman that I work with some time ago tell me, you got to stop taking it personal that I yell. We blacks just do that. And I said, I'm not going to listen to that. If I, as a white guy, go up to any Black woman anywhere in the US and yell at her, I can guarantee it's going to put her on the defensive and the offensive. Why are you thinking that's okay? Because it's Black culture. Really? Well, it's my culture to yell too, but I'm not going to do that in the workplace and to another woman and even out on the road. Even when I had a problem with a neighbor that I had to go to court, I'm not going to stand there and yell at her. It doesn't accomplish a damn thing. I didn't say a word. The fact that the woman kept doing the behavior, me shouting and all that, and you got people think, oh, I shouted. Yeah, did you solve the problem? You think you're so full of authority, did you solve the fucking problem? And even after the judge had told her get control of the dogs and everything, and they didn't fine her or nothing, if 3 years of infractions, animal control was there, and she had done stuff that predated me buying my house. The judge was liberal and wanted to win re-election, so he sided with her. Says, you got to get control of the dogs. And for several months afterwards, the dogs jumped the fence and kept barking. I'm like, really? She finally did something. I don't know why. Call it an act of God. Maybe somebody else complained. I don't know. But if you're a white guy and you stand up to the crap that blacks do, you're just a racist. And they will say that behind closed doors. Of course, he's white. No, you're disturbing me. I know a woman who's a Christian, Black, 62 years old, is immature as hell for her age, listens to this 94/7 racist radio. You try to tell her something that's important in your world, she's not interested. Not interested. She's only going to listen to her color of music. She'll talk eloquently about all the black people that she knows. It's like a cult. It's like when I lived in Arizona years ago, and there's a lot of Mormons there. Mormons are all into Mormons. Years ago, I had a relative in my family. Her name was Ursel. Don't know what the connection was. Somebody through my dad's side of the family. I was adopted by that family, but they came up when I lived in Prescott, and they came up from Mesa, which is a heavy Mormon community. And they'd come up in their Suburban, and she was sitting there boasting one day about, well, we don't drink caffeine. We drink postum, which you don't hear about anymore, but Mormons used to drink that. They won't drink coffee because, whenever you have a false religion, they come up with all these rules that God never intended, and they think that they're being righteous. And I said, she was bragging that she didn't. I said, yeah, I don't drink caffeine either. And my reason wasn't holy reasons. It's because caffeine, with my high energy and my metabolism, which is great, if I drink a cup of coffee before I go to bed, I won't sleep. It's like rocket fuel. And I said, yeah, I don't drink caffeine either. Oh, you're so holy, Pacific. I mean, immediate vitriol. I should have said, why did you give me that response? My reason wasn't for religious reasons. I just simply was trying to relate to you. Because when you're in a cult, you think you're the only one that's in the right place. And if anybody else says, well, I'm not in your cult, but I don't do that either. If I, as a white guy, say anything about the black community, I'm not black, so damn it, I can't understand. That is the most lowest level of fallacious reasoning I've ever heard in my damn 57 years. But you people will talk about my race all fucking day long. You'll brand all white people that are conservative as supremacists affiliated with the KKK. Dumbasses, take a look. You see me with the skinhead hair? You see me waving Confederate flags in my yard? No, you don't. Because I don't fit in your nice, neat little box either. I'm a white person who thinks independently, so independently that even my family to this day doesn't agree with me. And they were conservatives. So independently that I can go into any church in the U.S. and I believe that book, the Bible. But I don't agree with a lot of Christians today. There's a lot of cultural Christianity in the U.S. People think because they're pleasing to God that God's given them houses and lands and cars and gospel trip cruises. Dr. Stanley, who makes $250,000 a year as a preacher. I mean, this stuff is sick. Joel Osteen, a millionaire off his book, Your Best Life Now. I mean, all I have to do is read the Bible, and Jesus said that lay not up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust doth corrupt, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven. And you got Christians promoting Creflo Dollar, a black man, T.D. Jakes and others, and whites promoting this health, wealth, and prosperity gospel. Even a woman I work with now says, oh, I'm not going to claim that. I laughed. I said, you're not going to claim what? I said, it doesn't matter what you claim. God's either going to allow it or he's not going to allow it. And then she gets mad at me. You claim to be a Christian. God's sovereign. You don't get to manipulate him. Oh, yes, I can speak. You don't have that kind of power, babe. You don't have that kind of power, babe. God is going to show you. My truck went into the shop and it was tied up for a damn week. Needed head gasket. Person said, this black Christian said, oh, you'll have it. I said, no, it's not going to be ready. See, you're speaking, you got to speak of those things as if though they are. I said, we don't have that kind of authority, ma'am. Oh, yes, we do. It wasn't ready for 2 more days. She never did follow up and say, I was wrong. In fact, I specifically said, I want my truck now, but I think that she needs to be proven wrong. So if it needs to stay in the shop so the mechanic can do it right, then so be it. It was her birthday, 62 years old. I heard about it the day before, the day of, and the day after. It's my birthday. I'm 62 today. And my Cash App is this. You better get me something. You better get me something. Calls up her family members, all women. You better give me at least $100. She bragged to me she got $900. I said, wow. I said, I'm Caucasian, and my mother, even though I'm not close to her, if I was to do that as a kid, I would have been disciplined for that. She would have said, that is tacky. That is not okay. And I posted something recently on Facebook. I talked about this and I said, didn't mention a name. I said, I'm working with a woman and I brought it all out, bragging it's her birthday. It's my birthday. I'm 62. She says, I celebrate all of March is my birthday. She got the clothespin on her chest, put a $10 bill in there. Nobody donated to her, but you see the women do this in the Black community. They walk around with a clothespin with dollars and fives and tens and more. One day when I was in Colorado at a workplace, I thought, man, I'm going to try something. I put a clothespin, I put $1 under it. One of the ladies said, what is that? I said, it's my birthday today. Is anybody going to donate to me? And they kind of chuckled. And I said, how come it's okay for you women to do that, but it's not okay for me to do that? Flip the script, man. I was doing it to prove a point. And I want to know something to my Caucasian race. Why is it you're being bullied into a corner by Black leftist politics and scared as shit to say the truth? We've taken the lowest common denominator in America. 13% of the US population is comprised of by African Americans. And out of that 13%, a good solid 75% of them are causing an awful lot of problems that cost everybody in taxes and criminal justice. And, you hear the blacks scream and yell about police brutality, but those same blacks are silent when they kill cops that were doing their job by the letter of the law, and they have killed a lot of cops. The Black people in this country have no credibility in my eyes. I was doing my job and I had to work with a Black guy who was staunch Democrat, and we're talking about work, and he started on about electric vehicles. And I said, yeah, I said, I'm not for that. Well, I'm not either, but it's coming. I said, well, it depends on who you get in office. What do you mean? I said, well, if you get the right people in office, they're not going to allow it. Oh, so that's your answer. Just get rid of anybody. And I said, well, yeah, pretty much. I said, what's happening, sir, is that the rights of a lot of us are being trampled over. Then he went into the Black racial bullshit that they always, their roadmap always takes them right to racism depot. And bear with me, I'm going to prove that out. And he started talking about conservatives. And I said, well, sir, I'm a conservative. And I said, I think for myself. He said, well, you got all that from your parents. I said, no, I didn't. You don't even know my parents. I'm not even close to them. I'm not even in touch with them. I've smithed out my own views. I said, I don't support the Democratic Party in any way. Then he was asking me a question, and I answered him. And I said, let me ask you something. I said, where do you get your information from? Well, let me ask you, where do you get it? And I said, no, I asked you first. Oh, no, I'm not going to answer until you answer. I said, but I asked you a question. I'll answer you, but I asked you first. And he wanted to try to turn this around, wouldn't answer the question. This is Democrat reasoning, folks. If he's so confident that he's so right, he didn't want to say it because it comes from CNN. He knows that we're criticizing that. He knows that the so-called right, we're laughing at people. You actually believe that the media is telling you the truth. Don Lemon, what a jackass, said that somebody shouldn't run because of her age. Oops! How come the network didn't fire him for that? If it had been a Democrat person, probably would have been fired. Look at Matt Lauer. Donald Trump's not going to be the next president. I'm doing well. Ha! You're fired. Sexual misconduct. You never hear about arrogant Matt Lauer anymore, do you? But I bet you he's still being arrogant. The Democrats are full of shit. And if they're offended by this, I don't fucking care. They're offensive in everything they do. They're shredding our Constitution. You heard Biden say he wanted to pack the Supreme Court. They've galvanized the black race. Oh, wait a minute. Dilbert, you know that cartoon about office politics? It's a good cartoon. I'm not into the office corporate world, but I read it. I'm like, this is good stuff. Dilbert's awesome. Now, he's been tarred and feathered because he made a true statement that the African American community, he said, they're a hate group. About time. It's funny, when you tell the truth about the blacks, you're tarred and feathered and branded, lose your job, lose your syndication. Oh, yeah. Isn't that fun? Sounds like Animal Farm. You got the pigs, the Democrats, living in the farmhouse, eating caviar and drinking red wine, while all the servants out there are being fed a bunch of bullshit to keep working for them. The Democratic Party promotes socialism, but none of them live like socialists. Does Zuckerberg? Does the Google staff? Do any of these people, the social media oligarchs, and they're the czars, telling you what you can and cannot say? Fact checkers. Zuckerberg was brought to court and said, well, their opinions. Oh, but you call fact checking, independent fact checking. And who do they hire? All liberals, all biased. Oh, I went to college. Oh, you mean where you had frap houses and flop houses and drinking? CU Boulder's known for party hardy. Throw your couch out on the street and turn it on fire, and boys and girls can fuck 3, 4 other people at the same time, and they can hold the beer and go, yeah, college. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Education used to matter in this country, but now it's become commandeered by the left, as well as the FBI, as well as the CDC. They're no longer bipartisan institutions. They're all rooting for the home team, the Democrat left. They're an attempted coup against the American people, against the Constitution. And while they scream and yell at Kim Jong-un, the Democrats are exemplifying exactly what Kim Jong-un exemplified. We have supply chain issues. Our food is going up. Our gas is going up. And the working people are getting kicked in the balls by the Democrat left. While they're screaming about how wonderful Michelle Obama was, a multimillionaire with a 40-bedroom mansion. Can somebody please explain to me how that's fucking preserving the planet? Crickets? Nancy Pelosi. Biden. They're not living in teepees in the Central Plains. When's the last time Elizabeth Warren gave any of her property to a Native American? What was that? Oh, it didn't happen. The Democrats can be shredded by basic common sense. You don't need a college degree to see it. They hide themselves behind schooled media that got their journalistic degrees and suits and ties. We all know. People laugh at me for the way I dress with the off-the-shoulder shirt, and I've harmed who? I'm not a corporate guy. I hate corporate America. And corporate America and the Democrat left have married each other. It's a good fit. They're acting very much like the SS, the brown shirts, the Gestapo, Adolf's right-hand henchmen. And they stood there and screamed that Donald Trump was Adolf Hitler because he stood up against illegal immigration. And Crapola Harris, a loser of a politician, has no right to be on any committee. I wouldn't put her in charge of a fucking daycare center. Smollett, a black guy lying that Trump beaters beat him up in Chicago. And I like what Levin and others that have intelligence said. Yeah, what are the chances of Trump supporters beating up somebody in the middle of downtown Chicago? Chicago's Democrat as hell. And every place that's run by liberal politicians is a shithole city. San Francisco, homelessness, hypodermic needles. Seattle, handing out clean hypodermic needles so you can shoot up clean. That's the Democrats' answer to it. Allowing tent villages everywhere. Shitting on the sidewalks was passed and allowed in Denver, Seattle, LA. We're not going to prosecute anymore. You can piss. But let a man go outside a bar in Denver in Lodo because he had too much to drink and piss on the wall at 2 a.m. This is a fact. Registered sex offender, indecent exposure, and now he's in jail. But let a guy walk down the street, pull his pants down, and walk off? No problem. Who comes up with this shit? Democrat, mentally ill fucking people. Punish people that really haven't done anything wrong. And the blacks are getting behind this foolish crap. I want blacks to succeed. But the only ones that are succeeding are the ones that are making money, exorbitant salaries for what? Playing basketball? Football? Hey, folks, national sports could disappear. It wouldn't affect my life at all. I don't need it. Remember Michael Jackson when he died? Talk about privilege. I like a lot of his music. But he slept with 12-year-old Collie McCulkin. Let me, a white guy, have a 12-year-old black girl in my bed and watch me go down in flames in less than 10 minutes. Sex offender, jailed. Michael Jackson does it. Oh, it's okay. And he's always grabbing his crotch on the stage. Privilege? Did you see what happened to Rodney King? Did you see that? I call that privilege. The cops were so brutal, right? They joyrided behind him for 45 minutes with helicopters in the air and black people standing in the middle of the LA freeways cheering this loser on who killed Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. I mean, just amazing, isn't it? Oprah Winfrey down-shouted a Southern woman that said on her program years ago, you can pull it up on YouTube if you have any doubts. She said, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. If you're telling me, and Oprah and all her big, this is a armchair expert. She pontificates. She's overweight, not pretty, she's not sexy to me. Just saying. Different people have different things that float their boat. I give that, but she's not sexy. She obviously is no expert on weight management and stuff like that. And yet the black community holds her up as the poster child of success. She got paid billions of dollars for what? Running a TV show where she thinks she's a guru and an expert and everything. She denies Jesus Christ. And black people want to say she's a Christian woman. I don't listen to the black community anymore. I hear what they say, and it's starting to sound like, well, they want their own place. I wish Abraham Lincoln had loaded up the ships and said, y'all going back. It should have happened. Should have paid them off right then and there and said, you got the choice. We'll pay you for the shit you've been through now, or we'll pay you to go back to Africa and start again. And we should have buried it and capped it right then so that later on they can't come back. California's looking at doing reparations for them. I don't owe the black people a damn fucking thing. And if you want to get down to brass tacks and nitty-gritty comparison, they have done far more since the 60s on up in billions and billions of dollars of damage than they were not millions and millions strong back in the slave days. Let me make that very clear. There is also some, I don't know if it was Snopes or Wiki Fact or whatever the hell it was, but there was something that somebody had asked a question, were there more Irish slaves than blacks? And they said they weren't sure, but there could have been. That's how it was worded. And we're going to play the reparations game. How about if Africa be held responsible for having the Jews, in Egypt, 400 years in slavery? And what's interesting is blacks claim that they've been in servitude 400 years in the U.S. That is a lie. 80 years, I looked it up. 80 years. That's it. And out of all the people that have been through shit in the world, the blacks whine and fuss and whine. But do you ever see them leaving? Do you remember when the president of Ghana or the leader of Ghana stood up and said, I'll give you land, you can come here and work? How many blacks took him up on that? Spating! There's some beautiful black women overseas. If any African country that was reasonably safe offered me land and a house and a job and the right to citizenship, I'll leave tomorrow. Did you hear what I said, black people? I'll leave. I would live in Kenya. I would live in Zambia. Not so sure about Nigeria, but I would leave. None of them did. They want to stay here and bitch and tell us we're racist and tell us we're privileged. Look at what they buy when they got the money. They waste, even when they don't have money, they got to buy the Cadillacs, they got to buy the house they can't afford. Then they go into bankruptcy. Then the roof leaks, they can't afford to fix it. Most black people I know don't even live like I do in the area that I live in. I'm remodeling my house. I keep my bills intact. I'm not rich at all. I said, you guys buy scratch cards, you buy alcohol, you buy cigarettes, and you got a whole pot culture out here. And you wonder why you can get ahead. I had a discussion with a woman, a black woman. I said, if you believe that whites are so bad, why do you stay here? Where am I going to go? I don't even know my family history. I don't want to go to Africa. Why not? You'd be around all your people. But are you ready for this? A lot of people in Africa wouldn't put up with the behavior of what you see in African American culture in the United States. I had a friend for a couple of years, and unfortunately, we lost contact. I don't know if her Facebook shut down or whatever, but beautiful black woman lived in Zambia and Kasama, and she's a school teacher up there, and she was telling me that when I watch your news over here and I see what the black people are doing, she goes, that would never be permitted here at all. She said they'd be shot. They wouldn't read them their rights. They'd be in trouble. I said, I know. And they need to do the same thing here, but everybody's scared to death of them. I'm going to say something. My observations is whites are more afraid of blacks than blacks are us. Blacks will trample all over us. They come through neighborhoods blasting their shitty stuff. Now, white people do it too. I get that. Hispanics, but you cannot go up and ask them to turn it down, which proves that number one, the music that they're listening to has got them all fired up for warrior battle. And when you listen to crap like that, you're not going to produce a quality human being. And somebody who looks like they just fell out of a Nike wallpaper bin. Why do they all get behind Nike? Why does Nike own the shit out of them? I worked with a student who made fun of the fact I was wearing FUBU shoes. And I said, FUBU used to be big. He goes, Nike, Nike shirt, Nike pants. I said, so you're bought and owned by Nike. I said, how does that make you an individual? What do you mean? This is the way to go. I said, no, you're branded, owned by that corporation. You're not an individual. You're not thinking for yourself. And the thing that I want to communicate here is that I don't need to defend myself and say I'm not racist. I'm not racist. I dated 3 black women in Colorado, all 3 from different economic backgrounds. All 3 of them were beautiful. And every date I went on, the first date that I went on with any of the 3, they brought up racism. Went on and on about it. And I said, but you're with a white guy here. We're enjoying the evening. Why are you focusing on this? Did you pay cotton? Were you chained to the back of a pickup and dragged down the street? No. I said, so how are you suffering today? Well, my people, I said, how are you suffering today as a black American? You're not. There was a relative in my family that It took me a lot of years to wake up to this. She couldn't be at peace with everybody at the same time. She has her own internal shit going on. She has to be at odds with somebody. And we talked about that a lot with women. Okay. Women tend to be emotionally driven logic. And women, they seldom admit they're wrong, especially in Western cultures. And some women cannot live outside of a drama universe. You can take all the problems away, and it will be 5 minutes, and they'll come up with something else to go on about. That exists. It is alive and well in the African American community. Go out in the public. Go out there and as a white male and just watch and look at the faces of black women in culture. You see the pursed lips and the whole ugly countenance. They look angry. They look unapproachable. And it's like, what is the problem? Is it because we exist? No, it's their own people are shitting on them. I listen to the workplaces I've worked at with blacks, and they're all complaining about each other constantly. The only time they galvanize is when they got an issue against whites. But they are against each other probably more than any other race of people. Family members. I was working with little black girls and boys, and I noticed they like to hit constantly in the face for no reason. And it dawned on me that in their culture, it's okay for them to fight with their brothers and sisters and punch each other and all that. And even black women will say, don't come home telling me you didn't stand up, because I'll beat you up like a piece of chicken. I'll tear you up like a piece of chicken. They're encouraged to fight. I wasn't. I was encouraged to fight with this, not with fists. And that whole Black Lives Matters thing is an offense to me. So one day I posted on Facebook, "My life matters." None of the blacks thumbs up that. In fact, in one of the workplaces I worked at, I had to kick everybody out that was in my workplace that was black because I'm conservative, and they were all talking, Pacific this, Pacific that. I said, it's time for us to say something. We do not need to apologize as a Caucasian race because we believe in the Constitution. We do not need to apologize that we believe in legal immigration. That's what this country was built on. We do not need to apologize for being straight. And I don't believe in harassing somebody. If they want to be gay or lesbian, so be it. But when we got groups that want special status, privileged status, and somebody's picking on me status, while that same group of people is picking on, harassing, and racially discriminating against us, and the equity shit that Kamala and Biden and the team come up with is nothing more than racism. Now they want to take people in thug culture and shove them in the suburbs. People have a right to move away from shitty neighborhoods. I moved into a shitty neighborhood. And let me tell you, I'll never do it again. But I'm not a fan of suburbia and white snow globe people either. That's a whole different set of problems. The white women with their barking dogs that bark and bark and bark, and you can't get any resolution. At least here, this neighborhood, it's quiet for a certain block of time, because a lot of these folks today, they'll sleep till noon or 1 o'clock. But I'm sick and tired of hearing my race demonized, vilified, and crucified by 13% of the U.S. population that chooses to stay here and bitch about us. None of them have gotten a passport and a visa to move away. If any country in the world offered me a job and land and a house, I am gone, because I'm sick of what this country has become. Now, a qualifier. If this was Iran, no. And until I see the African Americans and the Democrats sign over their property, their cars, and their bank accounts to the Native Americans, stop using that we stole the land. You're here. You stole it too, then, buddy. Shut the fuck up. And why is it that social media censors us for speaking the truth? Because they don't want people to hear it. They'll bury you in the feed. They'll shut your account down. They don't believe in freedom. Look at this butthole up there in Canada, Trudeau. The truckers didn't do anything like what we saw with the 2020 riots. The politicians on the left didn't say a fucking word about it. Trudeau got offended because he had the air horns in his neighbor, in the halls of power. Talk about a doughboy politician of privilege. Justin Trudeau is a wiener. He's probably never run a fucking push mower in his life. Guy's a candy-ass politician. Didn't like it that the working class stood up to his draconian bullshit. And Google and Facebook need to be sued and backed up and be forced to submit to American justice. Facebook jails the shit out of people for no offense. Just because you got some girl with bad breath and 6 inches of dyed pit hair working on staff going, I hate this guy. Bam, 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 bam. You got jail. Ha, ha. These liberals are fucking crazy. It's a violation of our community standards. Really? But 2 women eating each other's pussy with blood all over their face is okay on Facebook. Fact. I complained. This is violence. This is bloody. Well, we reviewed your complaint. We didn't feel that this violated our community standards. Or the new one is, we didn't remove the post. Due to the high volume of complaints, we don't have time. Oh, but you got Pacific and conservatives on speed dial, huh? Facebook needs to be fucking sued and run out of business. Oh my gosh. Take all that money from a rich fat cat sitting in his mansion who considers himself a scientist and an expert on COVID-19. You have to say that because Google and the retards in the media, and I am not making fun of handicapped people. I like handicapped people. They're more normal than these fucking goons that come out of college running the show. They're not harming anybody. Working class America is getting kicked in the balls by filthy rich Democrats that are power-hungry zealots, tyrants, czars, oligarchs. They are Kim Jong-un. Getting $10,000 dinners flown into him from Japan. And you got Mr. Fungal Man getting his $300 truffle dinner. Does Nancy Pelosi care that hair salons and people lost their damn jobs? And look at Pelosi and her nasty, ugly, awful feminist self. Tried to demonize a very attractive hair salon owner of the shop that was doing her hair. And the in-shop video camera caught her walking through without a mask. And that got leaked out there. And what did Pelosi in a mature, absolute, great articulative speech pattern say? This was a setup. That's spelled S-E-T, not S-H-E-T, Nancy. Shut up. You can't say S's without slurring. And what was your husband doing with this bozo living in a bus that was Black Lives Matters and a nudist? What was that all about? We still don't know. What was Mr. Pelosi getting his dick sucked by this guy? We don't know. Rules for thee, not for me. If blacks started leaving this country in the shiploads, I would get concerned. Then I'd say they're being persecuted and driven out. What the fuck is going on? They're not leaving. So they're not having all that oppression that they claim. They're full of shit. And we need to stop listening to that. If the only argument they can say is that you're racist because you don't agree with them and don't think the twisted, fucked up way that they think, be strong. It only took a couple men to stand up and erect a flag on Iwo Jima. Erect a flag, folks. Erect a flag and stand up in your own way with respect to this bullshit that the blacks believe, that the left believes. Don't be bullied. Don't be intimidated. Because I promise you, every one of these fools is going to stand before God, and God's going to say the same thing to them and more. He's going to judge them on the spiritual issues first and foremost. Do you know me or do you not know me? I'm tired of my race being shit on by 13% of the population that wants everything done their way. They want to hear their music. They want to extol and worship their stars, the same color, vote in their same color. Go look at Haiti. Go look at Idi Amin, who's now dead, who's a damn cannibal. Barack Obama and Michelle, all these black people that are in the forefront, privileged. Privileged. Because living in America gives all of us that title. So don't single out my race, blacks. In fact, you guys can do whatever the hell you want in just about every city and not get caught for it. And now you got the police scared shitless of you. You can play your shitty music and cops won't do anything about it. You can urban assault with your shit-ass cars and your shit-ass music and your shit-ass mentality, but let somebody wake you up at 2 a.m. or when you finally fall asleep from your drug-induced stupor, and oh, now you're ready to fight. Don't talk about respect when you won't give it. I don't respect your rap culture. I don't have to. And this black guy in a workplace I was at was trying to tell me something, and I said, no, that is your right. Well, it doesn't matter what you think if it's my right. It's my right whether you think it or not. I said, what is wrong with you? I'm agreeing with you. It doesn't matter if you agree with me. And I should have said, you know what? I didn't want to listen to your conversation because you're fucked. We got to work side by side. We're here to do a job, and you want to bring up Democrat politics, not me. I'm the conservative, and you're already firing hate. You're insulting my intelligence. You're saying I don't know what you know, and I asked you where you get your information from, and you refuse to ask the question. You think you're Jesus. You can answer a question by asking a question. Only Jesus Christ can do that, not a Democrat. And you won't answer because you know what it's going to be. CNN. Don Lemon. And the clowns of the left. So black people are the only ones informed and the only ones qualified to talk about black people. Listen to them talk about Mexicans. Listen to them talk about whites. Listen to them talk about Asians. Oh, I don't like going in there. That woman's rude to me. They're all racist. They're all racist. They complain that when they go into a store that Asians follow them around. I said, hold it. They followed me around when I was in an antique store in Hong Kong with Tibetan antiques too big to carry out the store. That's just what they do. But honestly, they know what your race has done, and they're going to watch their product. Because guess who opens up the businesses in your neighborhoods? They do. They're the only ones that got the guts to go down there and sell shit to you. And then you want to call them racist. They know. They've been through all the fat. A lot of black people don't want to start businesses down there. And I'm not even going to get into that. But I live in a culture right now where white women are demonizing us men for looking at them and thinking that they're fucking beautiful. That's how screwed up our world is today in this country. Being able to speak and to tell the truth is the most powerful thing, more powerful than a battleship owned by the U.S. military. Why are people who believe the truth in this country scared like rabbits? Why are we watching the Republicans, Mitch McConnell and others, turn liver-bellied yellow cowards? It's a good question. Why are whites afraid to come out vocally and say, we're tired of this push from the black community that we're all bad? And guess who's leading that pack? White feminist women screaming at us. I would challenge people to do their fucking research about the media that's yelling about how racist whites are. Go and ask yourself, Black people, how many of those white media moguls and media elites are hanging out with Black people, moving next door to them, having them over for lunch? I've had Black folks in my home. I've taken Black women out to lunch, coworkers, and I've done stuff and spent time with them, not because I have to, but because I want to, because I like people. How many Democrats have Black friends that they're close to and do things? But where did the Obamas move? To the most lily white enclave in America today, Martha's Vineyard. Why aren't the Black people seeing it? But I, a dumb white guy who drove a school bus and is no longer driving, but working with handicapped children. How come I can see it and you don't? Sounds like you need some glasses, folks. You're like sheep led to the slaughter. You're right in the hands, putty, of the Democrat left. Don't tell me, Black people, that you're thinking yourself, and don't tell me that that's the definition of diversity. You only listen to your music. It's Juneteenth. It's my day. It's me. It's me. It's my birthday. It's brown, and it's my birthday, and you better give me money. All I see is a Marsha complex. I'm more diverse than any of these Black people I know down here. Lived in Hong Kong for a year. Now I live in a Black neighborhood and I live in the dirty South, as they call it. I'm not going to be bullied or stymied or silenced by the lie that I'm racist or I'm not Black and I don't understand. I actually understand more because I'm not born and raised in the cult of your thinking. And I thank God that I wasn't born Black, for the simple fact that if you are born Black and you think like me, you will be demonized, cast out, hated, and possibly suffer violence by your own race for being able to think for yourself. I have talked to Black men who have told me that their own family doesn't accept them when they became a conservative. So much for open-minded tolerance from the left, right? That's a cult. Leave the Mormon church, you're considered a Jack Mormon and you're excommunicated. Leave the Jehovah's Witness religion, damn him. And I'm going to tell you, when you get around even Christians, that if you disagree with them because they're wrong, there were two Black friends I had, both in their 60s. I'm not going to get into all that. And I had to recently say, you know what? I'm done. You're arrogant and rude. And I've never done anything to you, and I don't want to hang out with this. They both go to their separate churches. But when you stand up and you got to do what you got to do, you can tell wrong thinking by the way people react when somebody comes out of that and says, I don't agree with you. I had a Black gay male tell me he heard one of my rants. And I immediately bristled and said, I hope you're not agree. No, on some things we got to disagree, Pacific, but I wish I had the guts to say what you say, but because of my race, I can't do what you do. I said, why not? He says, you know why, Pacific. I said, so what? Why don't you start a trend? Afrocentrism is real and it is dominant in this culture. That is not the definition of diversity. It's funny, since I've lived here, I find myself getting back into my upbringing, the music I grew up on. I have a crush on a Puerto Rican woman. Don't know how or where that's going to end up. Probably be another poof bum mushroom cloud, but I did a short little video showing her what I was listening to. It was a Puerto Rican style music and very, very cool stuff. And oh my gosh, can you send me that? I really like that. I said, I'm glad you like it. Let me go get the artist. You get the impression of the casual observer that America is only consists of black and white. It doesn't. It's Asian and Hmong, and you've got a variety of African nations of people that have moved here, and you have Jewish and different Europeans, Hungarian, Polish. And I was actually thinking of something. I'm not really familiar with Poland, but because of the suffering and the stuff I've been through, I would like to experience living in Poland. Now, that'll shock everybody that knew me as Pacific Ocean Asia, but Poland's been in an interesting spot. They've been harassed by Russia, the Germans, everybody, you know, and I'm learning that the people who truly suffered, those are the people I want to be around. There's a song that moves me, and it's Hava Nagila, and it's Jewish. And when I hear that, it chokes me up. And it makes me think that right there evokes something. And God called his people to be different. He called them to be a peculiar people, to be aliens, to come out from them and be separate. So when you stand up and tell the truth, know that you're going to be hated. You're not going to be invited to people's reindeer games. You'll be called a racist and a homophobe and a xenophobe and a zippophobe and a penis phobe and a vagina phobe and a foot phobe and a plane phobe and who knows what else phobes they can come up with. Jesus went to a cross, and I think that we saw what happened there. The very God on the cross, and he got these nitwits standing there saying, "He claimed others, save others, let him save himself." It's a good thing I wasn't Jesus, because I would have said, "You know what? I've about had it." Boom, gone. But the strength of the Almighty is proven in the fact that he stayed there crucified and took it all. That's not our human nature to do that. And you got blacks that want to claim that Jesus is black. No, he wasn't. He was Hebrew. And it doesn't matter if he was black. If he was black as coal, I'd still believe, because you know why? He's already proven through his word he is God. The only people making an issue about color today is that 13% of the US. The police are against them. Everybody's against them. They're shitty cops. I've dealt with shitty cops. There's arrogance in the police department. There's white boys and whatever, and the officers that are just full of themselves. When I've had to call on some and they're looking at me like I'm some sort of a chum, I'm like, "Excuse me, I didn't do anything wrong and you're talking rude to me." Well, how the fuck does that work? But I drive the way I'm supposed to. I carry myself the way I'm supposed to. And if black people get that in their mind and stop passing counterfeit bills or going 110 miles an hour the wrong way on the LA freeway system, or Michael Brown, a teenager built bigger than me by a long shot, when a cop tells him, "Get up on the sidewalk," after he just robbed a store, and he didn't even know this was the suspect, from my understanding, that he got the call to go to the store where the clerk was roughed up and he stole some cigars. And he says, "Hey, get up on the sidewalk." And the guy bum rushes the cop store and tries to grab a cop. And then the family wonders why he got shot. That tells me you got some black people out there that don't have a functioning brain, because if you go and bum rush a cop's door, no matter what age you are, and try to grab his gun, you're going to get shot. And you heard what one of the relatives did. They said, "We're going to burn Ferguson to the ground." He was charged with. Now we got a white woman in Seattle, the mayor, who thought it was cute with some Rastafarian with dreadlocks saying this is Chaz, and they take over buildings that aren't theirs, a public street. You can tell that they've got BO and bad hygiene, and they're going to take over. And it's like, how long is this shit going to last? The Democrats are mentally ill, folks. If I was mayor, I'd call in the guard and say, "Get this shit out of here." And I called the water department, shut off the electricity and the water of these buildings, shut it off. And we're going to arrest every single one of these clowns. Every one of them. And maybe if America had a policy of when people are burning buildings down and stuff, that they get shot on spot. We don't need to read them the Miranda rights, but America's so drowned in leftism, litigiousness. Most attorneys are Democrats. We need to have laws and we need to have lawyers to protect us, but most attorneys are Democrats. That's not good. Even a white guy went to Singapore and acted like a bloody fool and spray painted cars or buildings. Singapore is a very clean country. You spit on the ground and get caught, you get a ticket. They don't put up with littering and spitting out your gum. And this guy goes over there, a white American, and acts like a fool. And their government decided to give him a caning with a bamboo cane. And Americans said, oh, that's cruel. Fuck you, America. That's not your country. They can do it the way they want to do it. And blacks always screaming about their rights. When you break the law, you don't have any. I don't know why it is that you got prisoners in gym lifting weights and getting online. And that's another beautiful, fucked up thing that's going on. American women will bypass me, a homeowner, a working man, no drugs, no smoking, tries to keep his life in order. I'm not perfect. They'll skip me and they'll go to the thug in jail that's going to get released for murder 20 years ago. Folks, we're living in upside down stupidity in this country. Women in this culture become more and more immature. More and more immature. And I'm going to listen to a 13% populace in America tell me what's wrong with my race, and then turn around if I say anything truthful from observation and experience about the black community and say, you're racist and you're not black, you wouldn't understand. No, I'm not part of your cult. I've been delivered from that kind of mindset. So I didn't grow up with that mindset. I actually see more clear than you. You have been brainwashed. And I'm glad I'm not black because they'd kill me. If I was black and think the way I think and saying what I say, they would not permit it. But I want to know why conservatives and Republicans and white people are scared. They'll sit there and take this. They'll let it happen. We're truly living in a backwards age. People who believe the truth are cowards. And the ones who believe a lie, promote the lie, they are bold, shameless. Look at the punks that go up and down the street with their shitty music. It doesn't dawn on them that most of society is not impressed with that. Most people are like, get the fuck out of here. I want you to pay attention to something. People that are egotistical, they're blind as hell. And it makes sense, and I'm going to say this again. You can tell when a group or people are under the influence of Satan when there's this big ego with it. That's a fact. Satan said, I shall be like the Most High. You got a Pharaoh complex mentality in a lot of black men. Black men that'll fuck them and leave them, use women as a cum dump. When children come along, they're out the door, they get the Crown Vic, they stand around and think they're all that. White guy walk by, they're sizing me up, looking at me. You're not smart enough to look at me and see the glasses and see that I'm not a threat to you, and you're going to play that intimidation shit. You're not very smart, scholar. I shouldn't have to be living in fear because I speak the truth. I don't support violence against nobody, except those who want to live by the sword should definitely die by it. We got these liberal, whiny ass politicians that need a fucking cry room and a puppy and a stuffed animal. The death penalty's wrong. Oh, really? The death penalty's wrong, but you kill 61 million babies, you fucking hypocrites. And I apologize for my language. It's not Christ-like to use these kind of words, but I'm angry too. Because we're not allowed to have a voice in Washington. We're not allowed to punch through this complete, dominated, manipulated, media-driven bullshit that's overpowering everything. No offense, African Americans, but being around you all the time has really opened my eyes. And I'm not envious of your race. I don't feel real comfortable watching what goes on in your race. I don't. I've had an interest in quite a few black girls out here until you see how they live their life, until you see how their children behave, until you find out that they're anti Trump, anti conservative, and just going to hip hug the Democrat left. Their personal life, their personal finances, their hygiene, all that curly hair under the arms and the BO and the overweightness. They don't make a good selling point for why their party's the valiant one to go for. I had a pastor in Duluth, Minnesota. You say the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. And when I look at the black community, it shouts that the Democrat way has not worked. It's enabling to continue to sit, stagnate, rot. And just like the roofs of all these homes in Augusta covered with a tarp with pieces of eaves missing, the same thing's happening to them. They're rotting from within. They're getting worse and worse and worse. Chicago, they're killing each other. They're killing their own constantly. And Lightfoot, who's not a pretty lady and not a lady, she's not a lady. She's a female, but she's not a lady. She's nasty. I wouldn't want to see her at a McDonald's drive-through window. She's offensive. She doesn't get voted in for re-election because Democrats are very slow in their thinking. And finally, enough people said enough. Oh, it's racism. No, it's because you're not competent. Please. What is really sad is little black children growing up in homes where their 400-pound mother who's drinking and eating and overstuffing herself. Trump's a racist, whites are racist. And then the kids get around me and they find, and one student, a teenager said, a preteen, she says, you're white and you're nice. I said, what does that mean? Well, your race hasn't been kind to me. I said, hold it. I said, I wasn't part of that. Don't bring me into that. I said, you know I'm Irish? Do you know we were used as slaves and build the railroads? Really? Yeah, we were slaves too. In fact, you come down here to the South, and back in the day, they believed redheads were children of the devil. A lot of societies looked down at Irish and didn't allow them in their establishments in America. How come we don't have Irish History Month? Because it's unnecessary. People who want to learn something will dig it out for themselves. You want treasure? You go get your own pickaxe and find your own mine to start finding it. I don't think we should mandate it. And I don't think that this society mandating and pitting one race against ours. And I know what happened when I lived in Hong Kong, when I saw certain dysfunctions in Hong Kong that made me want to act out. But I'm going to say something that I've observed. Blacks and whites are not the same. We're humans. We all have hopes and fears. We all got to go to work. We all got to figure it out. But we are not the same culturally. And there's nothing wrong with me saying that. But that doesn't mean that I cannot speak out about the things I see. To make a statement that I'm not black is to imply that only your color is the smart, authoritative one that can talk about any issue. You talk about whites all the time. In fact, that is the only nucleus that you guys revolve around. Pacific doesn't revolve around that. My map is much bigger than yours. I'm more diverse than most of you. I've lived in Asia. I've dated Asians. I've dated blacks. I've dated Hispanic. I've dated Puerto Rican. And you know what I find? Diversity is me, and it's you, and it's her, is him. A black guy in Akron, Ohio told my friend when he was working at Amazon years ago, was being arrogant and being a punk, says, "You people don't have any culture." I said, "I'm glad I wasn't there because I would have shut up my mouth right there." I said, "Really, dude? Look at architecture in Europe. Look at the classical music composers. They're not black. Hello? Their music's 500-600 years old and is still, and even China and Asia and Japanese and Asian culture puts together orchestras playing Mendelssohn and Bach and Mozart and Tchaikovsky. Imagine that. The only time people want to emulate black culture is when it's the stuff in the gutter with a bunch of rebellious, lawless people. Hello? A lot of people respect Asians because they're disciplined and they're very smart and they have, intellectual acumen. I was thinking about the Titanic. Marconi invented the wireless. Marconi, I believe, is Italian. That little device that sent out a Morse code was the first Wi-Fi. If the Titanic did not have that on there, Bryden, Phillips, the two men in the radio room, would not have gotten out the fabled distress call, SOS, Titanic sinking, hit an iceberg, please come. If they didn't have that radio on that ship, the 704 that survived would never have survived. It would have been a total loss. Nobody would have known. Said, "Hey, where's the Titanic? It's not out here. It hasn't come to port." Then they would have sent boats back and found wreckage, debris, and who knows what. Dead corpses in lifeboats. When you have a community of people that wants to talk about my race, then it forces me to dig deep and say, just what has our race done? Emancipation Proclamation was issued a long time ago. The civil rights movement started in the 60s. And even black people fail to really pay attention to what, and I read the whole speech on Martin Luther King Day this year for the first time in my life. The infamous "I Have a Dream." I read the whole thing and I agree with it. I think most blacks don't agree with it. Because when it says that a man be judged not by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character, black people aren't doing that as a rule. They're voting in somebody for the color of their skin only and ignoring their character. They defend thugs that get in trouble with the law and the law overreacts and they want to penalize, punitize, and demonize cops when the original first cause was a black man who didn't know how to act right. And I'll be damned if LeBron and all these macho, feral complex black males are going to tell me what the fuck I'm supposed to think. I'm fighting Irish. I'll fight the way y'all fight, but I will fight with my mind. And white people shouldn't have to live in fear that they're going to get punched, shot, or beat up, or their house burned down because they stand up against your bullshit. All you're doing is doing the same damn thing that the racist assholes did back in the day against you. You're doing the same thing the KKK did. Don't tell me how I must think. I'll listen to black people I respect, but I'm not going to listen to rabble-rousers like Oprah, Whoopi, and Maxine Waters. All of them are racist. All of them are privileged. All of them are sitting on tons of money, and they need to shut their fucking mouths about my race. Because again, Whoopi Goldberg didn't move to Blackville. She didn't move to Compton. Why not? Because they know they're in danger there. That's why. They get away from their own damn people. You want proof of what Democrats really believe? Look at what they're modeling, people. This media is yelling and screaming about how dangerous white males are. Look at where the media moguls and magnates and anchors live. Not Compton, not Michigan and Detroit. Please. Trust the actions, not the words. But we live in a day and age where black people will criticize me, criticize my message, find fault with me. They did the same thing to the prophets in the Old Testament. The Jews said, this guy's negative. Throw him in a well. Shut him up. And Jesus said, you stoned the prophets. You religious leaders, you did it. Blacks that claim to be Christians and vote in a party that's destroying our country and is not making bridges into other cultures, but erecting hostile, hateful walls. I agree with the creator of Dilbert that the African American community has definitely become a hate group, and watch them shut me down for saying that. I'm not calling for hatred and destruction and damage to people and property. They do. The Democrats allow it. They were silent about it. They thought it was awesome. We saw what they did with East Palestine, Ohio. Ignored it. You ever notice that Democrats are okay with burning chemicals and releasing all that shit into the environment? These are the ones saying that gas-powered vehicles are so bad for us, and a gas stove. I have not known a person to date that died by a gas stove. Have you? But I know people are killed by shitty drivers every day, but the Democrats are all worried about fucking gun control, and they're not getting any control of that either. Because guess who's doing all the shooting? People that are anti-conservative. Who's killing everybody in Chicago? Trump supporters? Conservatives? Blacks that tend to vote liberal killing blacks. Boom. I don't need a political science degree to shred the bullshit out there, but keep watching CNN and drink the fucking Kool-Aid, because that's what you're doing. We're watching our country slide out from underneath us like nobody's business. You want to sit there and tell me the whites are the problem. Like I said before, I don't have a lot of white male friends. I don't have a lot of friends up close and personal. I have friends through social media all over the place. If you're a Christian and you vote for the Democratic Party, you're not listening to the Holy Spirit. If you're a Christian and you vote for a party that condones and sanctions the killing of 61 million babies, I would challenge you to read the Bible. I believe it's in Proverbs. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 that are detestable to him. Read those. One of them is hands that shed innocent blood. Wait a minute. The Apostle Paul says, in Adam all die, in Christ all live. There's no, and it says in Isaiah, there's none righteous, no, not one. So what's innocent blood? Yeah, I think God was talking about abortion, wasn't he? Do you know what his law was in the Old Testament? If 2 men were fighting and bumped a pregnant woman, she had a miscarriage. God took that pretty seriously. So if God took a miscarriage, he didn't consider that just a fetus in a woman's choice. You had to pay for that. And watch the hypocrisy of Democrats. If a pregnant woman gets killed, they will charge that man with 2 counts of murder. If a pregnant woman gets killed, a man will be charged with 2 counts of murder. This party is evil. Look at Madonna and her getup, and the clowns from the left promoting Satanism during the whatever awards. Folks, who this world in America is applauding for on national television, they're going to hell like a greased pig on a pole. Broad is the road. Many there be that get behind all that. When you got all this following and Oprah and, come on, man. You're going to tell me they're walking with the Lord? No, they ain't. And all these churches and ministries out there that are huge and gobbling up billions of dollars and millions of dollars, and Myers and Osteen, they're not speaking the damn truth. They're not teaching the hard truth. They're not declaring hellfire and brimstone, because nobody wants to hear that anymore. They want their ears tickled with success and feel-goodism and teddy bear theology and cotton candy theology that rots your soul out. A good picture of the United States today is the ship docked in Philadelphia, the great liner, the SS United States. Google it. Look at it. Look at what it was. Look at the pictures and video. It takes your breath away. This thing squatting down in the water going 40 knots. The fastest, a 900 foot, bigger than the Titanic, like a skyscraper on the side going 40 plus miles an hour through the sea. Now that is impressive. You thinking 40 is nothing? Imagine the trade tower on its side going 40 miles an hour through the ocean. Yeah, that's impressive. America used to be great. And now you got black people offended at people wearing MAGA hats. Donald Trump is an arrogant, egotistical guy. And I don't like that at all. But when he campaigned and he ran on issues that we are all, the elephant in the room that everybody knows. Go take a speech by Donald Trump about illegals, and then go take the same speech that Barack Obama and Clinton said. Same damn thing. But Trump was a racist. And look at the black people. They're still sour grapes over the fact that that Barack Obama couldn't be the next king. What did he do for America? Not a damn thing. He fucked up the healthcare system. The price of an HMO and everything went through the roof. Say what you want. Talk to medical billing experts. Talk to people that work in insurance verification, like my ex-wife and many others that I know. They said Obamacare was a disaster. Obama is an egotistical son of a gun. All these Democrats are. They're full of themselves. People who believe the truth walk in humility, not dripping ego and sarcasm and cynicism like those guys. And get your head out of your butt, turn off the TV and start reading the Bible about real leaders, because you're not electing any. You're electing racist, feminist, lawless people that want to support everything anti-God, anti-biblical, want to shred our Constitution. Well, folks, I'll tell you something. If we were to let America go full tilt and let the blacks have complete power over this country, I'd give it a year and they destroy it. I'm talking the blacks controlling it all on every level. Make them the cops, make them mayors, politicians, no whites. This country would be a mess very quickly. But I'll be called a racist for saying that. Isn't that fun? When you lose an argument, get out your hot branding iron, racist. Then it means you don't have to listen to what they have to say. The Democrats have been very effective in using that as a baseball bat to get you to either believe what they say or to say what they say. So much for independent free thinking, which the Democrats use to tout themselves as being open-minded. They're not. There's black women I see that are very beautiful. But I don't think a marriage would work with me and her, especially if she believes the crap that she believes about my race and her Democrat way of thinking. The Democrat belief system is destructive to sanity, to reason, to freedom, to life, 61 million dead babies. They're destructive to the black community. They're keeping the black community down in that racial carousel that just spins around the common nucleus of racism. That's it. They're not encouraging, and they do not want the black community to grow up and grow out. And blacks now are submitting to the same institution that Democrats control, the public education system. And there's a video on YouTube about the school to prison pipeline with blacks regarding the public school system. The black people might want to watch that. So am I racist when I want to see blacks succeed? I don't think so. If I was racist, I'd say get them all the hell out. It's my birthday. You better give me something. I'm 62. It's my birthday. I've never seen a white woman do that in my life. I've never seen an Asian woman do that in my life. I've never seen a Hispanic woman do that in my life, but you see black women do that. Clothespin on the chest, better cash out me, better send me money. How about if you let people make their own decision and not force it? Well, but that's my culture. Well, maybe you ought to look at your culture then, because that's offensive as hell. You notice that today? We're supposed to make this wide berth around black culture. No, we don't. And if white people want to move out of a bad neighborhood that's being taken over by people that are fucking it up, and Biden wants to take those kind of people and put those kind of people over here where the people have left, that is not right for the government to be do that. What I would propose is send all these thugs to Martha's Vineyard, send them to the Hamptons and the East Coast, send them to the Democrat enclaves, let them move in next door to Nancy Pelosi and play their let them send them over there. Send them over there. Send all these clowns over there to behave like that. I promise you, the rich, elite Democrats will not support it. Hypocrite is defined by the black community, by the Democrat community. And for black people to kowtow under that and vote by color and vote in black people, they continue to tout this mental foolishness. You're never, ever, ever going to soar to heights like an eagle. You're walking around with pigeons picking at trash. Woo, woo. And that is the truth. Michael Jackson died in a month of mourning and grieving. Please tell me, what did he bring the world? PYT? Billie Jean? The Kid Is Not My Son? Oh, that's a lot. How about some of the other black groups that I do like? SOS Band, Motown. How come blacks aren't making that kind of music anymore? Oh, because we're not in the 70s. Oh, but now it's full of profanity and fuck and pot. And I was going to clean my room until I got high. I mean, that's it. You're really bringing productivity to the table, aren't you? As a race, as an ethnic group of people, I will put myself down on the record that I like to know what your big giant contribution is that's making my life better, and it's not there. I know black people that I like and I respect, and I work alongside of them. But why would they get behind a party that supports all this lawlessness, all this foolish thinking, that wants to scream that our Constitution, our founders are racist? Excuse me, when you got emancipated, you didn't leave this racist country, did you? You stay here. And you get to buy your Escalades and your Cadillacs and your bling bling and your white mansions. I don't see you making an exodus back to Africa. And I, as a white man, am looking you in the eye. I dare the black community to raise me $1 million. I'll leave, but you won't do it. But I would go to Africa. I got a friend in Kenya. I got a friend in Zambia. Both of them, if they've had an interest in me, I believe they would marry me. I would move to Africa. I don't have any hangups about that. And if you think I'd be living in the white neighborhood, I wouldn't. It's Africa. Those people over there know 2 or 3 languages. They dress beautifully. They work. They grow vegetables. These people that I know are phenomenal people. And when I was driving a bus, you got overweight black women won't even sweep their bus. They're paid to sweep it. And filth and cockroaches running around inside the bus. I'm not making that up. But they'll spend $300 on their damn hair and their nails, and they'll push up all those tits and all that cleavage, and guys are going, I'm like, my gosh, no. I mean, I wouldn't want to climb into the bed she's in. I wouldn't want to be in the house. But I'm called a racist for saying these things. There's African women over there that are clean themselves. They dress nice. They're smart. African American and Africa are not one and the same. And I find it interesting that they love to broadcast, I'm African American. You have no connection to Africa except a bloodline somewhere. But let me stand up and start saying, I'm Irish American. Don't call me white. Well, but you're Caucasian. Caucasian comprises of an awful lot of people groups. They happen to be white or Caucasian in the skin color, but that's Hungary, Poland. The Jews, too, can be involved in that. Well, no, they're Middle Easterners. We're talking about races here. We're talking about, we got black or African American or white. But for a young guy to run off his mouth at my friend in Akron, Ohio, and say we have no culture, excuse me, European culture has more that has contributed to the entire globe than yours has. Okay? That's a fact. White people have invented more shit that you all depend on every damn day than you've invented that I even use. I don't even know of anything I use in my house that's even connected to the African American dynamic. Nothing. I'm just saying. I'm just stating facts. So you want to talk shit about my race? Go find somewhere y'all can live. Don't pick up one of these. Don't use a laptop. Don't turn on an electric light switch. Go back and start all over with the dirt and the soil and the trees and see if you can do it. Because if you're going to tell me that my race is privileged and this and that, you benefit from that privilege too. Big time, because you're not going back to Ghana. You refused to go back to Ghana when a leader of Ghana made an invitation during the riots that you were welcome to come. Interesting, isn't it? You sit here and you bitch about our culture. And while you bitch, your contribution to this culture, by and large, is more killed police, more busted and burned up shit, graffiti all over buildings, blight, real estate decline, quality of life decline. You keep producing shitty music loaded with shitty words and shitty hatred towards everybody. You devalue and exploit women in your culture. Black men singing "Suck My Dick" in rap music. And even I will leave the nightclub going, okay, I'm done. They're done with Motown. Now we got to listen to this shit. No, I'm not going to do it. You want to criticize my race, criticize my hair, criticize me for being who I am. I didn't get a choice at the body and the skin color I was born in. And you're going to stand before God and give an account to your racism and your hatred of whites. And yes, there is a large percentage of black people that I would define as a hate group. And if they've got a problem with that, it's okay for you to sling the shit. But if somebody stops the shit, wipes it off and says, no, this is the more accurate side, you don't like it. I'm not going to listen to LeBron. I'm not going to listen to Snoop Dogg. He said he's going to move to Canada. I'm still waiting. Liar. Whoopi Goldberg is a big mouth, and you can tell. She can't get enough stuff in it. And when she wears clothes, she looks like a walking tent. I'm not going to listen to a woman like that say something as asinine that the Jews didn't experience racism. One black man gets into it with the police, and it's all systemic. Fuck that. 6 million Jews singled out. Yeah, that was racism. One black man who was in the process of using a bullshit currency to steal from a store had a knee in his back, and experts, the first coroner report determined he died of a drug overdose with fentanyl. And if you looked at the other video that CNN did not air from the start, they aired the other one when he's on the ground with Chauvin's knee in him. There was the one when he's in the cop car, laying on the floor. I can't breathe. Nobody was on him. He wouldn't get up in the seat. He did what toddlers do. You know, when you pick up a bad kid and you go to remove him from the room and his arms and legs go out in all directions so you can't get through the door. They're being as difficult as possible. That's what Chauvin was doing. But did you see Chauvin trying to slam the door on his leg sticking out? No. Police brutality? You're going to have a hard time making that case. If Chauvin was so racist, how come he didn't just shove the door and ram his legs up in there? Now, I'm not defending the guy. But I'm sick and tired that the blacks are always quick to point out the flaw of what a white guy did, but never say a damn word about all the ghetto and all the thug and all the criminal stats and behavior in their own community. And that goes for their leaders too. Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, one of them's a tax evader. How come he hasn't been behind bars? Privilege? Al Sharpton's nothing but a damn overdressed rabble rouser. I'm not going to listen to these people. Are they living in Compton? Are they living in the hood? Of course not. Did they move back to Africa? I'm a white guy telling you, give me $1 million, black community. I'll put my money where my mouth is. You give me $1 million free and clear after taxes. I will give my house to a black family that needs it, and I will fucking move to Kenya or Zambia. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm not afraid of African culture at all. This stuff over here, now it's become the tail that wags the dog. The tail that wags the dog. 13% is going to tell the rest of this country how we're supposed to think, how we're supposed to back up, not offend them, and apologize for our skin color. Not me, no how, no way. I'm not a danger to the black community, but they are a danger to me. I'm not a danger to African Americans, but there's some African Americans that are dangerous to me because they don't think the way I think, because they don't believe in respect. They don't believe in doing what's right. Those kind of people are a danger to any of us, not just me personally. And that goes for whites. That goes for Asians who want to act up and be fools. They're a danger to me and danger to you. But if you're going to make a selling point, look at Stacey Abrams, another overweight woman, screaming and yelling. First election was unfair. The second one, she lost so bad, she finally realized, maybe I better stop saying this. They don't want me. No, we don't. Take your California mentality and go over there. Go be roommates with Gavin Newsom. And the Democrats aren't content with staying in their enclaves. Now they want to come in and infect the rest of the country so they can dominate. I want to get away from the Democrats. Our country is gridlocked in stupidity. Washington is doing nothing but dismantling any sense of decency and order. Mitch McConnell's a joke. Nancy Pelosi's a joke. She's been in politics too long. Biden is an old coot who's talking tough to China. This is a guy who's benefited from China. This is a guy whose son's benefited from dirty money. No wonder the Democrats all got behind the Ukraine. Somebody keeps liking it and taking away their like. When you speak the truth, you're not going to get 5,000 likes. You're not going to get millions of likes and go viral. The media is unprofessional. They wear suits and ties. They're full of dripping ego. They would hear something like this and shred the hell out of me, put me down, find out I've been divorced, find every flaw, dangle it out there. The media is a trip, man. Instead of listening to the message, they're going to shoot the messenger. You're not allowed to think for yourself on Facebook. You're not allowed to think for yourself on Google or YouTube. You get little bumper stickers underneath there, about elections and CLIMATE. Yeah, you can't say those words anymore. You get a sticker. Seems to me that the left has become the Hitler that they accuse Trump of. I've told Christians, if we really believe the truth, why are we cowards? I don't go out and be obnoxious to blacks. I work with them. They bring up stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not want to have this discussion. I don't agree with you, man. But as long as I can use a forum and take advantage of talking, I'm going to do it. I don't need to apologize to blacks. I was adopted. I was abused by the family that adopted me. I was rejected by the mother that had me. And I have been promoted I was next in line to get a position at a job in Denver. It was given to the worst of the candidates. And he was white. He was not good with people. He'd had multiple accidents. And he got the job. And black people think they're the only ones that have gone through shit. Jewish people went through unspeakable horrors and atrocities. Black people were not sent to the ovens and guinea pig for test experiments and the torture they went through. They didn't take a black person and take his skin off and make a shade out of it like some woman of one of the commanders of one of the death camps did. Good morning. It's not right for a group of people that went through their shit to act as if though theirs is so much greater than anybody else's on a global level. Chinese were slaves in the US too. They built the railroads. Nobody talks about them and reparations for the Asians either. And I get so tired of that lame Democrat argument. We stole the land. Elizabeth Warren claiming she was Native American. That was a joke, embarrassing. She should have been removed for lying. I haven't seen a Democrat to date give the Native Americans any of their houses, real estate, nothing. When I see people actually do something that models something, I tend to look at that and go, whoa, okay, that's huge. But America's a nation of shit talkers. The Navajo had what was called the wind talkers. It was brilliant. The Japanese were unscrambling every code the US put out on a ship to shore radio or airplanes, whatever. And they got some Navajo chief and talked to him, the wind talkers, and that Japan couldn't do it. They couldn't touch them. But we got shit talkers in the US. Politicians, both sides of the fence. They don't model a damn thing. They're lining their wallets. They're fleecing the flock. They're telling you to live as a socialist, telling you to go green. None of them are going green, not with their mansions, not with their ice cream addictions and their $300 truffle dinners. Newsom and all these people are pansy-ass pussies. They're dangerous to us. Don't think you're so tough. They're dangerous. They would have you killed if it meant promoting their ego. These are dangerous, scary people. They want to talk about conservatives that were gun-toting. I don't have a fucking gun. And I don't get into fights with people. Disagreements, yeah, but fist fights, no. America's being torn apart by the Democratic Party of the US. And they're using black people and they're using low-class culture to facilitate this and make everybody bow to that. That's not of God. And there are black people that have risen above this shit and escaped that mentality. As Candace Owens said, they need to Brexit. But a lot of black people will not do that. They're going to stay right there because it's comfortable. I've been down south here. They favor their own. They favor their own in the workplace. I worked for a black woman that was my supervisor. She favored one of the worst, most immature, not only black, but bisexual. I'm not going to repeat what he did, but violating company rules, doing whatever he wanted, not even calling in. I mean, that's a fireable offense. And then talking rude to me on a daily basis, talking down to me. I said, why do you talk rude to me, but I don't show favor. I said, every other black people said you show favoritism to that guy. They're doing the same thing that they accused whites of. You go into a business. Oh, hi, girlfriend. Me, white guy, gets up to the register. They ignore me. Go and ask a black person for help at the Walmart here. A lot of them are just rude. Won't speak. But let a black person walk up. And they're so friendly to them. They're cliquey. They're a cult. You're not part of it. I don't want to be a part of it. But I try to build bridges, not walls. I can't say the same for them. I think it's interesting that I, as a white guy, have taken more black women out to lunch. None of them have taken me to lunch. Well, one who's a friend, she's reciprocated. But most of them, a lot of blacks are taker culture. That's what the whole birthday thing is about. Give me, give me, give me. And what do they give you? Not much. A lot of headache, a lot of stuff. And my observations of black culture at large, it's very depressing. It's not soaring to new heights. It's just stuck. It's a stagnant, it's a merry-go-round that once you get on it, you're stuck. Fascinated with Asian culture, even Puerto Rican. I'm learning a little bit about Puerto Rican culture. Other cultures have something to offer me. The African American culture, other than some Motown and some of the Afrocentric hairstyles, which I think Black women have some really cool things they can do with their hair and the style of clothing that they wear. But at the end of the day, when I come home into my house, when I get away from all that, I really don't want anything to do with it. It just doesn't have any appeal to me. I'm not racist. I don't support the KKK. I don't support the Jim Crow laws, and I don't support the Democratic Party. And the Black people vote for the party who supported all three of those. And I'm the racist one. I'm the danger of the country. You group hugging the party that profited the most from you picking cotton. They owned all that industry. And you demonize Republicans. The KKK was formed to keep people from going to the Republican Party. Did you know that? No, you don't. Because you don't care about history and facts. You just want to listen to rabble-rousing narratives by Clown News Network, CNN, and the Alphabet Soup Company news media that used to be reputable, like the FBI and the CDC. These aren't reputable institutions anymore. They're in the back pocket of the Democrat left. And guess what? I'm not popular anyway, so I have nothing left to lose by saying this. The Black community is not going to give me $1 million. But if they did, I'll get on national television and say so, if I'm permitted. And I'll leave. I'll get my paperwork together and I'll leave. And whether I stay there for the rest of my life, I don't know. But I'll stay and see if it's a fit. But I'm not coming back here if that's the case. The media fans into flame this racial tug of war. The media, the college-educated journalists, they're the ones that keep the shit going. The media makes the news. They create the next news story. You notice the media loves to cover all the mayhem and the riots. If the media really give a shit about the value and decency of this country, they stop spotlighting people acting up. Don't give them a stage, but they give them a stage because they like that. The Democrats love chaos. They like it when everybody's lives goes down in flames. But please notice, all of them go home every night and have a nice, peaceful sleep because they're not living around these kind of people. I don't know when the Black community is going to wake up to who the real racists are, who the real privileged are. It's those boneheads you keep voting for called Democrats. It's that media that you want to get their attention and have them give you all the power for burning down LA and Seattle and Portland. I'm so tired of every time something hits the news. Oh, racism in the police department, systemic. Now let's see, what did the Black guy do? Oh, he's running from the police, going 90, going through stop signs, red lights. I still come back with my argument to the Black community. If I was driving my pickup back in the 90s when Rodney King was going 110, what if he'd hit and killed me? Would the Black people burn things down because I was killed at the hands of a Black man? They wouldn't have given a shit. So why should I get all up in arms because a bunch of adrenalized cops had lost it and lost their professional candor and beat the shit out of the guy? Why is it that that's the bigger sin than what that fuck up Rodney King did? Why is that? That right there is proof that the African American mind, as a general rule, does not think by value system. Because my life matters, Black people. And if that son of a bitch had killed me or my son, you think I would have got money for Rodney King and my son had been killed by his bullshit driving? What if that had been if I was married and that had been my wife? Would the Black community have raised money for me? You want to prove hypocrisy, just talk like I'm talking. The Black people talk a big talk, and they like to yell and scream and burn shit down when they don't get their way, but they don't want to hear the damn truth. and they'll tell you that they believe the truth. They tell you that they listen to CNN and they listen to their little black informants. Okay, that's a cult. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being silent. I'm tired of social media billy clubbing us to death for daring to say what I say. I'm not a threat to the African American community, but they are a threat to me and my race. They're a threat to my real estate values. They're a threat to my peace of mind in my own home. Abraham Lincoln should have made them go back to Africa and solve the whole fucking problem. Give them each a big pot of money each. We're sorry. We fucked up. We're going to send you back. We'll give you enough to buy land and get started again. Over there. This is why multiculturalism doesn't work. But what we have here is multiculturalism can work. We as Americans do coexist with all different nationalities. But when you have people who believe lies, like the African American community at large believes that my race is so wicked and bad, that's going to create some problems. If America's so bad, black community, why are Africans dying to get over here? And Puerto Ricans and Cubans and Filipinos and Chinese, why are they leaving their countries and coming here if we're so damn racist? Well, let me say something to y'all. Because Caucasian people were number one in creating a country that everybody wanted to come to, whereas every other country in the world doesn't have that status. Boom! PowerPoint only number one that sinks all of the bullshit that comes out of your mouth. So if we're so bad, why do other ethnicities dying to get here? Because of the society that our culture set up under this Constitution to empower men and women to speak, to be free, to challenge themselves, to do better, to own a house and property. And the Democrat Party stripping us of that right, telling you to buy an electric plug-in shit car that's just a joke, and tax the power grid so they can have rolling blackouts, and you can't get to work because your car can't charge and your microwave won't turn on. You can't cook your food because now your gas stove isn't allowed. Why are we listening to these bloody fools sitting in Washington on stacks of money bigger than the bank telling us how we need to live? I'm waiting for a productive answer. AOC is a fucking lunatic, scared of a garbage disposal. That woman is a threat to Michael Nelson, aka Pacific. AOC wants to champion Muslim women. Move to Iran and shut your mouth, woman. Put a veil over your face, cover up your tits, and live that way and get back to me. You got freedom here that you would not have in Tehran. I wouldn't go to Tehran, even to visit. I don't support Iran. I don't support Islam, and I will not apologize for that. I'm white. You wouldn't understand. Our race is getting kicked in the balls. And until you white men and you white women that claim to believe in conservative truth, until you stand up and say you've had enough, this shit's going to continue. We don't fight the way the morons do on the left. We don't burn shit down, but we need to rise up and speak in every place across the land and be a megaphone and say, do we got to claim status now that we're being harassed and discriminated against? Do we need some laws to protect us? Yeah, I think so. Censored on social media, it's controlled by leftist liberals. Zuckerberg's a real socialist, right? Got a mansion with a pool out back, living the hard socialist life. Liars, hypocrites, cheaters, unethical fools, all. Zuckerberg, Oprah Winfrey, Goldberg, all headed to hell on a greased pole. Y'all think they're great? Wait till they stand before the Almighty. God's going to say, "I depart from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you." Denying us freedom while living in self-indulgence beyond ridiculousness. Oprah, 5 mansions. What does a fat, overweight woman need 5 mansions for? Well, that's their right. Oh, really? You got third world countries living in poverty. You're so worried about a fucking gas-powered car and a leaf blower and a lawnmower, Gavin Newsom, but you'll spend $300 on a truffle dinner. Have you read in Revelation what God's going to do to this planet? He's not going to recycle it, and he's not going to walk around with his canvas tote bag saying, I'm recycling. And he's not called Mother Earth or Mother Nature. God is going to judge this world. From meteorites hitting the ocean and turning everything into blood and killing the sea life and the ships and all the stuff that's coming down, he's not too concerned about go green. He's about people paying attention to him. And these Democrats don't even talk about what matters to God. They snuff out life worse than Adolf Hitler did. 61 million children. The Democrats determining whose lives are worth living and not living. They are a danger to all of us. They want to call us right-wing extremists. They're extremists. They're militant, evil, wicked, satanically led people, galvanizing the lowest common denominator, 13%, and telling 87% that we got to buck up under that as the standard. I don't think so. Martin Luther King, if he was alive today, would not go for this horseshit that is going on in the Black America. I'm tired of it. Is anybody else? Can you raise your hand? Or are you scared? You know how many little black children have come up and called me Dada? That gets me. Little kid dressed up in his little teddy bear jacket with a little hood and little barriers. Dada grabs my arm and holds it. Why? Because there's no Dada. Dada fucked her and left. Where's the macho Pharaoh complex LeBron and black men standing up about the bullshit that they've done to their women? Nothing. In fact, racially speaking, black men are the worst to their own damn women than any other race out there. Boom! PowerPoint number 2. Shut your mouth, you big grandstanding Pharaoh complex megalomaniac black guy standing in front of your Crown Vic smoking your weed thinking you're tough ass. Please shut it. And that's the thing. You rule by fear and intimidation and bullying. You don't get your way. You burn everything on fire. Man, come back at me with fucking intellect and facts because you don't have any. I'm so sick of this race of people getting all this free pass to do whatever they want and cops and police departments backing up and letting them do whatever the hell they want. The fuck? And if you're offended by what I say, I don't care. Truth hurts. It's a sucker punch to the gut. And you're not getting it from your own community. And you won't even listen to me. The blacks aren't going to flock to this and listen. They'll shut it down the first. I'm not going to listen to this racist asshole. Fuck him. They will not listen to the truth. They will not listen to the truth. I'm not black, so that, boom, that's against me right there. I'm a conservative. Oh, that's against me. I'm not black because I don't understand. That's against me. That's a cult, folks. God can use me to reach them. Look, the Israelites, the Jews, God sent them prophets that were Jewish themselves, and they wouldn't even listen to one that was their own. That's how powerful truth is. You get a black guy to say the things I'm saying, they ain't going to listen to him. They ain't going to listen to him. I feel good today because I finally got to say what I need to say. How long this video will last up here? That's a good question because I don't know. Social media hates the truth, hates righteousness, hates God, hates anything that makes sense. They might leave it alone because I don't have the numbers, but watch it go viral, which will never happen. Then they'll pull it down and shut me down. Social media, so much for encouraging discourse, debate, and alternative viewpoints and celebrating the true thing called diversity, diversity of thinking, diversity of independent thinking that refuses to follow CNN and the blacks and the Democrats and believe in their bullshit. This country, if all the blacks were given all key positions of power in this country, would become like what Haiti did. They would turn each other into a bloodbath. They're more dangerous to themselves than we are. The blacks are more dangerous to their people than I, as a white guy, am. Don't believe me? Take a trip to Chicago. Black culture's ripe. Diana Ross, upside down. I'm aware that you're cheating, but no one makes me feel like you do. Or how about the song Side Piece by another artist? Me and my side piece. It's celebrated. It's an expectation in their culture to use women and just love them and leave them. And a lot of these women, black, that are angry are yelling about racism, but they don't have that same vitriol and anger towards their own black men that left them with 3 children, broke their heart. That's amazing to me. You'd think that the black women would stop listening to this bullshit in Washington against whites and start saying, fuck the white people. Look at what you guys are doing to us. Our own men. Where's the outrage? Where is it? It's fucked up that we're not hearing this from CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, PBS, NBC, NPR. Now, before anybody attacks me, I used to listen to NPR for years. I went on this ban against all Christian music, rock music, anything rock, and I listened to classical. I love classical, but then I noticed, man, NPR has got a slant I don't dig. And it dawned on me, all these networks are all in cahoots. They're all tied up to Hollywood and the education. So you're going to listen to Hollywood, Brad Pitt. You're going to listen to these people that if they want to try a girl or a guy, or they want to smoke, or they want to drink, or how about Justin Bieber, who was driving around drunk and acting up, and people in Hollywood were circulating a petition for him to go back to Canada. I mean, they got tired of him. I mean, Hollywood is going to be held up as an example, and we're going to listen to them. We're going to listen to Jabba the Hutt, Michael Moore. You can't see his chin. Have you seen that? I have the right to criticize him because they're criticizing. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm 400 pounds. Michael Moore is disgusting to look at. And he has such hatred and contempt for conservatives. Modeling, folks. Modeling. I buy a house that was in shitty condition with black family after black family living here that allowed rats and mice and cockroaches. It was bad. I had to tear out studs and just about one room I had to re-wall 2 walls, tear them completely out and reframe it one section at a time so that I always had support. After sheetrock, tore out all the paneling, I tore open every single wall in the house. Except one. I had a room that I had to tear the outside siding off, the inside drywall, replace studs damaged by termites, take out all the windows, have new windows put in. And after the new windows were put in, the company that did said there's termite damage in there. I'm like, oh gosh, I just spent all that money on all the windows put in. I'd end up taking the room apart. I took all the drywall out to see the bad studs. Then I'd take 8 feet on the outside by myself and peel off the vinyl siding and the 1/2-inch rotted plywood siding and I put tar paper up, did T111, I had prepped it, stained it, Thompson's water sealer. We get a lot of mold here, decided I don't want to have to seal this every freaking year, so I would have did a gray paint on it. And people are watching me in the neighborhood. White guy by himself, doing things by himself. That this place had a crappy looking yard, crappy everything, and now I'm one of the best looking properties on the block. And I'm not done. That I, as a white guy, and they all think I'm a kid, and I'm 57, and you got a people that burned house, but I lived here 38 years ago, and this guy thinks he can just move in. What I mean, you mean I think I can just? I don't think I can just move in. It's called real estate. It's called I see a property, I have the money, I buy it. Then I politely rose my hand. It was a white liberal judge, and I wanted to contest it, but he didn't call on me. And I'm not going to be ghetto in a courtroom. You have to use decorum. But I thought, I say, Your Honor, that's not right. This is America. I can buy any property I want. This isn't about who's been here longer. This is about the fact that she is not just disturbing me, she's disturbing the people next to me and other people around. And then she lied, and her boyfriend lied. And it was comical that I, as a white guy, stood there with 3 black people, took 3 of them to stand up against Pacific. And I conducted myself orderly, wasn't rude, just stated the facts. I got 11 pages of notes. I got video recordings of this. He chose not to look at that. And everybody that I know that's conservative, when I posted that on my Facebook, said, clearly you can see what's going on. They're giving African Americans a free pass. That's correct. But it started to dawn on her, look at me and look at you. Look at the difference. If a person is coming through this neighborhood and there's an emergency situation, and the person's a respectable, well-to-do man, who's he going to stay with? If he was to look at my property and that, I think it's obvious. And this race of people has said so much about my race that I can no longer be silent. Do we need a Dr. King, white style, to come back and start standing up and speaking the truth about the so-called tyranny of what the blacks are suffering? Or rather, should we say the tyranny that they're putting on the rest of this country? That's more accurate. Because when they take over a neighborhood, you're not going to feel comfortable there. When they take over anywhere, you're going to be shoved more out of there. They're not interested in coexisting with us. They're not. Anyways, time to go on Sunday morning. You guys all have a good day, and thank you for listening. I appreciate my fan base. I appreciate the people that have commented to me on the phone and personally and on Facebook that we're the minority, folks. We're the minority today. Those of us that actually believe what is called truth. And that comprises of blacks, Asians, Mexicans, whites, Hispanics, and there's a few of us out there. We're losing our rights. We're being silenced. We're being censored. We're being banned, jailed, shut down on social media. And there's no laws to protect us from that. Isn't that nice? So I say still speak the truth. We all need to do our own Iwo Jima. We shouldn't be cowards when we know what we believe is the truth. The people that should be cowardly are the ones that believe lies and peddle that. Do you notice? Take a look at the characteristics of Christ and take a look at the characteristics of Satan. Satan says, I shall be like the Most High, the Pharaoh complex. Look at the liberals. Look at the black community of people that are acting bad. Listen to the story of a Puerto Rican. I have an interest woman, a woman that was raped by a black guy with dreadlocks, went into an apartment complex with 94 cameras all over the apartment buildings. He tried several different windows, tried hers, it was loose, broke in, and raped her in front of her children. The teen daughter called the police. She testified just last year, told me all about it. That black man sat there in the courtroom laughing and deriding her in front of all these professional people. No fucking conscience. He had raped many women. They gave him 2 life sentences plus 20 years. This is what we have allowed to come into our country, to be raised in our country. And you got a black woman pulling up my driveway telling me she wanted the other person who lived there was trying to get out the black vote. Yep, let's hurry up and get all those black people, those kind of people, to vote for our next government. That's what you want? People that support raping and brutalizing a Puerto Rican woman? They play their shitty music and don't give a shit if it invades your home? You want that kind of people in control? Burn down everything when they don't get their way? Steal everybody's stuff? And if the black community, I have one more final boom. You got an issue with the cops, so you burn down AutoZone and bust all the windows out of Target. And the most poignant thing I saw that really, really raised my hackles was 2 black teen girls with all their hair and nails done, walking gingerly in their fancy shoes and clothing across broken glass of Target with the red plastic Target handbasket full of makeup and shit. No conscience, just going in and helping themselves while people are just looting the shit out of the store in Minneapolis. Yeah, you black people are a real good selling point to get me to believe that your race is just so oppressed. Please. The damage you guys have done far exceeds anything that the 80 years of slavery, with far less than the number of your people now. We don't owe them a dime. And who are we going to pay? They're dead and gone. Why should we pay this generation of self-absorbed, entitled black people? Why should we give them money for something they never went through? That makes no fucking sense to me. Just like me. I didn't work on the railroads. They don't owe me a damn thing, even if it was my people in the millions. It's an ugly part of history, and we move on. But we don't owe the black people a damn thing. Every time they blow up something, that puts a negative in the cash register for what we owe them. And based on what I've seen since I've come into the world, because most of this shit started when I came into the world and slightly before, they have cost so much money that it far exceeds damages done to the blacks in the 80 years of slavery. So we're not only even, now they're going the other way. We should start charging them for all the damage they're doing. How about all the cops who were killed doing their job by the letter of the law, following protocol? Does the black community get up and down about that? They don't give a shit. They don't care if I was killed. They don't care if my house was torched by them. They don't care. They don't care if Rodney King had ran over me or my son or one of my loved ones. They wouldn't care if Michael Brown in Ferguson, a teen, came up and bum rushed me and punched me in the face when I was at a traffic light. They'd think that was funny shit. Within a certain element of the African-American community, there is a savagery that harkens right back to that shit that went on in the primitive, not so pretty stages of parts of African culture. And they don't like it when we say that. But a lot of them do not and will not and are not going to gravitate towards intellectual scholasticness. They don't want to, and that's fine. But when you see their music reflecting that, and Homeland Security doesn't do anything about that, that's hate music. So now Dilbert's under fire because he spoke the damn truth. I support him. I support him for having the balls to say what needed to be said. There's a lot of African Americans that I would say, yeah, they're a hate group. Absolutely. And I've said one of the gravest mistakes that white people made was white flight. We shouldn't have moved. We should have stayed, hunkered down, and said, no, we're going to put up with this bullshit. You can live here, but you're not going to tear up and down the neighborhood and steal and do drugs. You're not going to do it. But we didn't. They ran. So Michelle Obama is an ignorant woman. Ignorant. I don't see the CNN news vans in front of my house giving me an interview. Well, Pacific moved into a black neighborhood. Let's talk to him about it. They don't want to do that. It don't fit their narrative. But I know why blacks or whites don't move into black neighborhoods. If I had to do it over again, neither would I. But I wouldn't move into a white neighborhood in suburbia either. To be fair, the older I get, I want to get away from all these crazy Americans. They scare the shit out of me, to be honest with you, because they're fucked in the head. Not everybody, but a lot of them. When you got a culture that gives a damn dog more rights than me, when dogs can bark and shit and bark and bark and bark 24/7, but those same women that are all about dog rights have no problem killing a human baby. And now you got more women actually having sex with animals, dogs. There was a woman recently in some southern state fucking her dog and got cited for it. But American women will look at me and laugh at me and say I don't qualify to date them, but they'll wait for that thug to get out of prison and fall in love with him and marry them the second he comes out. Yeah, I think America is going the wrong direction. So you look at the ship, the SS United States, all the paint's flaking off. There's rust that's gone through the decks. The ship is never going to be sailed again. And there was talks of buying it and refurbishing it. That's done. It's just a matter of time before it goes to scrapyard. It's spent millions and millions of dollars and docking fees and everything, kicking this thing around, and it's going to end up going to the breakers. But that ship is a picture of this country today, as it sits today in Philadelphia. We're not coming back, folks. We're not coming back. Those of you that believe in Jesus Christ need to get your focus on him and realize that we don't have long in this world anyway. And things are very much moving into place for a one world government. We got Russia and China looking at uniting. We're looking at, China's going to be offensive and go after Taiwan. There's some things shaping up, and America is nowhere mentioned in Bible prophecy, unless it's under a different name that I'm not aware of, but it's not there. America very may well get itself in a pickle where Russia, China take a shot at us and render us completely powerless to do anything. Just saying. And Russia said something absolutely true about this culture that we all need to pay attention to today. We won't have to take America by force. It'll fall from within. And the Democrats are facilitating that like you wouldn't believe. Thank you for listening. This is Pacific signing off.